We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Welcome to Mostly Horror.
Mostly.
I'm Steve,
And I am Sean.
and we're back with another.
We back.
Thanksgiving was a couple days ago. Not by the time that you're listening to this, unless you subscribe early and ad free on Wondery.
We're part of the cool kids club.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're just getting past Thanksgiving, recording this intro for a wonderful episode that features David Lowery, one of my favorite directors.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know if I say this in the recorded part. I probably do. I told David this. David's one of my favorite directors.
Steve was cheesing. Steve
I was
was
very
geeking.
very excited for all of these interviews that we get to do. But David is one of my favorite filmmakers right now. I think he's one of the best writers and voices. Yeah, he's so good. And to David's credit, and I think I say this in the interview as well, we've been emailing with him for months, and he hasn't been stringing us along. He has agreed and has been very responsive in trying to find time in the midst of production and pre-production and shooting, with approval from A24 during the strike. Like, he has found time to respond to us, and we were finally able to make it happen. So David Lowery is on this week's episode. Very excited. We also, after that, play a game with our friends Jake and Kelsey, who have a new party game / board game coming out called Weirdos Wanted. Not a board game, just party game.
What do you, real quick, is that what you called? Is that
it's a party game?
Party game is what you would say? Okay. I've never known.
It's not a card game. I think I just call them like board / like tabletop. Sure. But even tabletop is like D&D and like that sort of stuff.
If it's a game that plays like on a table or in a couch setting and comes in a box, I've always called them board games. But like, it doesn't make sense. Party game is so fair. Yeah, it's
a good umbrella term. Right. But we play Weirdos Wanted with them. So definitely hang around and listen to our game of Weirdos Wanted, and also go to weirdoswanted.com to snag your Kickstarter party game. It's great. Before that, a little bit of something that you probably already know.
I'm sure you already knew that.
You only tell me stuff I already know.
You already know what I'm going to tell you.
One of our favorite, here at Mostly Horror, one of our favorite horror franchises, beloved horror franchises, is Scream. It is a franchise that, of the big horror franchises, is probably my favorite. It is something I'm always excited for. We have had so many episodes about it. We've talked to Radio Silence. We've talked to Liana Liberato. We've had Mike Scollins on it to talk about Scream so many times. Yep. And you obviously probably already know this, but there's been some big news recently with the upcoming Scream 7. So we've told our listeners that Radio Silence wasn't going to be a part of this new Scream, which is something that we kind of foresaw, but weren't 100% sure about. And then it was rumored that Christopher Landon, the director of Freaky and Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, was going to come on as director, and that was then verified that Chris was going to take over. And recently, we learned, not just us, but the whole world learned, that Melissa Barea, who plays Sam in the Scream, we'll call it Scream 5 and Scream 6.
Yeah. Yes.
Melissa Barea has been dropped from the upcoming movie. At first I saw that Spyglass said something about taking a stance against anti-Semitism, and it seemed like immediately the whole internet said, hold on. Basically, Melissa Barea posted a number of stories, as a lot of people in the world have been, condemning what is happening in the Gaza Strip currently. And while I personally don't feel like it's my place, and nor do I have the not even intellect, but like simple understanding of what's happening in geopolitical conflict over there, but I think what Melissa said in her posts is unequivocally probably correct, She said, Gaza is currently being treated like a concentration camp, cornering everyone together with nowhere to go, no electricity, no power. People have learned nothing from our histories. And just like our histories, people are still silently watching it all happen. This is genocide and ethnic cleansing. And again, I'm not one to comment on whether this is correct or incorrect, but a lot of, you can see what's on the news and see what people are posting and see what's happening in the Gaza Strip. I think she also made another comment, and this is to paraphrase. I wasn't able to find it, put it right in front of me, but basically saying something to the effect of Western media and Israeli media is not showing this, like is not, whatever it may be. To which I think some people maybe got the understanding or misunderstanding that she was lumping in the Israeli media and the Western media, our media, a falsehood or fallacy that a lot of people say that Jews control the media. Again, I'm a Jewish person, like that's not something I necessarily take offense to, but like you hear that sort of stuff all the time, like Jews control the media, Jews control Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think there is a bit of tiptoeing around that sort of stuff and not wanting to be associated with people that may make claims like that. Again, not saying that Melissa did. She really didn't. She was let go of the film. Spyglass then put out a statement saying Spyglass's stance, and Spyglass is the company behind Scream, like the production company. They said, Spyglass's stance is unequivocally clear. We have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or the incitement of hate in any form, including false references to genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust distortion, or anything that flagrantly crosses the line into hate speech. Again, I don't have everything she said in front of me, and if you want to, I'm sure you can search for it and find it online. I have seen everything that she posted. I don't think that she overstepped really in any way. I think everything that she said, do I think that, there's a reason why a lot of actors will kind of just, like a lot of basketball players are told, just like shut up and dribble. Like, there's a lot of reason that people just don't say anything during these sorts of situations because these firings can happen. I still don't think that's right, but obviously there's a huge uproar online. Most people, I mean, if you're listening to us or you're on Twitter or anything, you can see that a lot of people are on Melissa's side and are basically just talking about not going to see the new Scream movie when it comes out because of this decision. I know Chris Landon also posted, the director Christopher Landon, who is taking over, posted something that he since deleted that says, "This is my statement," broken heart emoji. "Everything sucks. Stop yelling. This was not my decision to make." Again, I think he deleted it because it's not as easy as just like everything sucks, stop yelling. I think he's referring specifically to Melissa's firing, which obviously is not his decision. And, he just took on this, like arguably one of the biggest continuous horror franchises.
Absolutely.
And now is without one of his leads. Like, he just felt like he needed to say something, and I don't fault him for that. And to add on, to throw salt in the wound, there were reports the day after Melissa Brea was fired of Jenna Ortega dropping out of Scream 7. So while it was reported the day after, I do want to say that I think it was over the summer or during the strike, there were reports that Jenna only signed on for the first two films, wasn't signed on for 7, and may not be able to do 7 because of her Wednesday shooting schedule, and that it was kind of up in the air, right? So I don't know if this was something that is a domino effect. A lot of people are saying it doesn't have anything to do with Berea's firing. I mean, who knows? It very well could. Like, it very well could be like Jenna said, like, oh, well, 100% fuck that. I don't want to come back if, Melissa's not going to be a part of it. But that is a piece of the puzzle. On top of that, there is the whole issue with Spyglass not wanting to pay Neve Campbell to come back to be in Scream 6. But now they don't have Melissa or Jenna for Scream 7. And so they are reportedly trying to go back to Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey.
Which I found very interesting.
Technically her husband, though, in the films. So trying to go back to them. As far as I've read, the writers of the film, Kevin and Guy, are kind of starting from scratch. Like they basically were like, production hasn't began on this. Like we're still just, coming up with this idea, which was very obvious at this current state. They have to do this. So I just proselytized for a long time, trying to set the stage there. Would love your initial thoughts. I obviously have thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. Let me, I'm probably going to go a little long myself, but first off, dude, trying to follow this, I've been reading up on it all myself and was like, how the fuck are we going to organize and like summarize and kind of bring this all together on the pod? And I think you did a super stellar job at that, so
great.
I appreciate
it. And if
that.
You're listening and I did it, if I missed something, I'm so sorry.
Sure, it's all comment. Super complicated. Yeah. Yes, but I think laying down the basics and saying like, this is our understanding thus far. Again, we are not a news. Yeah, I think you did a solid job.
Great.
Yeah, man. So where do we even begin?
Oh wait, can I add something really quick?
Go for it. Yes, please.
Okay, I have to add one thing. I just want to read the day after Melissa was fired, she posted another Instagram story. Mm-hmm. I felt like I should read it so we can get Melissa's statement, so we can hear Melissa's statement. She says, first and foremost, I condemn anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. I condemn hate and prejudice of any kind against any group of people. As a Latina, a proud Mexicana, I feel the responsibility of having a platform that allows me the privilege of being heard, and therefore I have tried to use it to raise awareness about issues I care about and to lend my voice to those in need. Every person on this earth, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status, deserves equal human rights, dignity, and of course, freedom. I believe a group of people are not their leadership, and that no governing body should be above criticism. I pray day and night for no more deaths, for no more violence, and for peaceful coexistence. I will continue to speak out for those that need it most and continue to advocate for peace and safety, for human rights and freedom. Silence is not an option for me. I loved that statement. I felt like we needed to hear that. That was
Absolutely.
Kind of the end cap from Melissa.
Sure. Okay. So that's actually, I'm going to use that as my veering off point into the beginning of all my thoughts on it.
Great.
The internet has been the fucking internet, the goddamn internet has been, in an attempt to call out negativities in the world, to hold people accountable, to do better and to progress. The internet has become, we're hyper analyzing like everything all the time. We're paying attention to what people do, and we expect more from people that have platforms. And I think that those things are great, but I'm seeing there's a ton of arguments online happening right now, especially on things like TikTok and such, where essentially people that are just on these apps are demanding that every single person with the platform give some like sort of intense statement about stuff like this, about Palestine and like conflicts that are so incredibly complex and have been going on for a really long time. And that frankly, not everyone with a following should be chiming in on. Like, these are things that experts should be speaking out about. With that being said, people should educate themselves absolutely. So yeah, I'm sure that especially when you're that level of famous, that level of influence, you have that level of influence, and you feel these pressures on every side. You're feeling like studios telling you to shut the fuck up. You feel your morals and your own personal understanding telling you that you should speak out. You have pressures from people telling you that you should speak out. It's probably incredibly complicated. I was reading through her tweets. I didn't get through every single thing. I do find it interesting that they made the immediate jump to anti-Semitism, because it doesn't immediately seem that way. I will say, though, there's a part that you left out that may have led, or maybe this is where the misunderstanding could have happened. She specifically said, Western media or like Hollywood, I don't remember her exact words in that specific situation, but she said, isn't talking about it, is actively not speaking out about it. And she said, I'll let you guess why, or I'll let you realize why, basically. Yeah. And people think that statement is her implying that because Jews run Hollywood. So So, and I would say, like, if that is what she meant, that's obviously not the best take for the situation.
Yeah.
But it does seem like, I mean, there's a few people, actors. I'm trying to remember who. I think Susan Sarandon is one that's in a bit of heat right now for comments. But it seems like anyone that is daring to criticize Palestine right now in any way is being labeled or
criticize Israel.
Yeah. Is being labeled anti-Semitic right now, and that is interesting. Again, I'm definitely not any kind, like, this is one where I'm not going to put a foot in the ground on either side. I basically, I think we can all come to the agreement that, like, genocide is fucking terrible. All governments can absolutely be corrupt and do terrible things. It seems like Israel has done some terrible things in responding to Hamas, and Hamas did terrible things in responding to, you know what I mean? So it's like killing innocent people is fucking awful. And so it's an incredibly complicated issue. So with that, I don't know. I guess before we move on to anything else, I'm just curious. You stated your initial thing, but what do you think of her statements, or do you think she should be thrown out of the movie, or is that, like, I guess,
no, I think people should be able to say whatever the fuck they want as long as it's not hate speech. I think that she didn't say, she didn't say anything anti-Semitic. I think that they're, our government supports Israel to the tune of billions of dollars. So to claim that there are probably people in Hollywood that support Israel, or people that work for Spyglass that support Israel, that's, you can draw connections. Like, it's not, that's not saying Jews run Hollywood. It's not saying Jews are all bankers. Like, you know what I mean? Again, this, as a Jewish person saying this, like, I think that there's a difference between, there's a difference between saying anti-Semitic things, saying hate speech, which, God damn it, happens a lot because of the fact that the KKK is basically having a goddamn golden day right now. Like, like there is a huge rise in anti-Semitism, and I understand that because of all this stuff happening in the Gaza Strip, there is another rise of anti-Semitism. Like, everyone's gonna, one thing that Melissa said in her statement is that people are not their government. Like, and that's the biggest thing. Like, I think about that, and then think about what people thought about America when we had Trump as our leader. Like, no one probably, I mean, I don't know how people from other countries think, but you have to separate the government from the people, and you have to know 100%. That there are so many other different types of people that live in these places that aren't representative of, like, the decisions that their governments are making. So I mean, do I think she should have been fired? No. Do I understand that this is something where, like, I would love to say that I would be as brave as her to make a statement during this time and not be afraid of the consequences, or even be afraid of the consequences and not care about them. Because I'm sure she was aware that, given that she was going to say something, there would be consequences, or had the possibility of having consequences. But I can't say that I would be that brave. Like, if I was in that position, like, I probably wouldn't say shit. And that's, me being white privileged and, like, just my current state. But I mean, shit, even Halsey recently, like, Halsey, again, as a person that stands up for minorities and everything, she's really outspoken, but hadn't said anything about the current conflict, and basically made this big post saying, like, I've taken a step back, and this is me completely paraphrasing by memory, but, like, saying that she's taken a step back from being very vocal because she had, like, death threats made against her, and at a certain point had, like, snipers around her building to make sure that she was protected, and, like, all this sort of stuff. And she just had a kid, and she was like, I'm trying to be protective of my children, or of my kid and my family. But was basically like, still, I have to say something. Like, I can't just, it was cowardice on my part to sit back and not say anything. And so, again, I do not I do not fault anyone speaking out against any of these things. Again, the atrocities that you very clearly see on social media day in and day out are evident. And while I'm no expert, I think that, standing against genocide is obviously something that's pretty easy to do. And do I think you can choose your words carefully when you're trying to say sort of things? I agree. But unfortunately, like, to get things done and to draw attention to things, you can't always choose your words carefully. So that's how I feel about Melissa. Like, it's
absolutely.
it's shitty, but I think at the end of the day, she did the right thing, or at least spoke her piece. Like, do your thing.
Yes.
She's gonna get other movies. Probably.
Yeah. And we'll definitely jump into the movie aspect very shortly because I want to talk about what this could mean for the franchise. But yeah, 100% agree. And I don't know. It's I think that the comment could be people are completely capable of having biases. Like we all just went through this insane. I would imagine that the same sort of people that are making the decisions about firing her are the same people that we were just incredibly frustrated with over the strikes, right? Like these are the same people. Sure. So it's not exactly the most moral people we're talking about that could have biases. It has nothing to do with Jewish or not. You know what I mean? It's just people are capable of biases, and she's being silenced from being able to even say what she wants to say. And I don't think that what she did was at least from what I've seen I have not seen something. Yeah. And I'm really glad that you said as a Jewish person, because I didn't want to be like, hey, Steve, you're Jewish. What do you think? But, and
I'm not like Israeli Jewish. Like I don't have family that lives in Israel. Or I mean, I have family that travels to Israel, but it's like, it's not. Count. Yeah.
It works.
I guess put it this way. When we were, when a specific basketball player last year was saying anti-Semitic things and there was a lot of controversy around that, I felt targeted. I felt, specifically, but bad is the wrong, my vocab's not flexing today, but I felt like that could be a very harmful thing. So I completely understand, the air of anti-Semitism. And I frankly just don't think that this had it. So,
yeah. Well, also, I'm also
not the anti-Semitism police, but
sure. But, we're living in an age where the second that anyone does anything that could even be misunderstood, I mean, we've been seeing it for a while, companies, businesses, brands are like, people are really detaching immediately just for the sake of misunderstanding before we even fully figure things out. So yeah, it's all over the place. I know that like, it's just interesting. I don't think that going in the direction of no matter what Israel does right now, it's fine. I mean, I'm pretty sure, again, this is another thing I'm not entirely read up on, but I skimmed where apparently recently they like bombed a hospital and they killed innocent people in an attempt to get Hamas. And it's just like, you were saying people aren't their governments. Unfortunately, it just seems like war. That's just always been the case. Like in any war, no matter who comes out as the good or bad guys on the end, both sides kill innocent people. I've talked about this on the show before. We dropped 2 nukes in fucking Japan and we killed hundreds of thousands of people. We women, children, it's not like soldiers killing soldiers. We bombed cities. Yep. And that is a thing that we did. It's worse than, in my opinion, it's worse than anything that any other country's ever done. Like it's fucking, that's nightmare fuel.
But I agree with you. I said outside of probably the Holocaust, but I agree with you.
I would say it's a very close number 2. I think it's a different kind of bad.
But who's comparing? We don't need to compare tragedy. But I agree with you. I agree. Yes. It's senseless. Yeah. It's fucked, and it's something that has always happened in the world, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. So
before we move on to the movie part, I just want to say again, we are not fucking experts on this. I encourage everybody to educate themselves about what's going on right now. I certainly want to do that more myself, but look to actual sources. Don't just I'm not saying that someone on TikTok can't know what they're talking about, but just because someone on TikTok is talking doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about.
But maybe maybe follow a TikTok, maybe follow like a professor on TikTok or something. Yeah, like outside of, like I saw the 1975 recently, and Maddie Healy kind of jokingly was like, you want me to comment on the Gaza Strip conflict? To which point, I don't really care.
100%. 100%. But so, okay, let's talk about the movies really quick. What this means.
Can I say a strong thing about the movies? Yeah. I'm gonna say a very strong opinion.
Do it.
Well, I don't think Melissa should have been fired from her role in Scream. She is very easily my least favorite part of the 2 new movies.
Okay.
And while it does have a domino effect to Jenna, who I think is one of the better parts of the new Scream movies, I do not think that a Sam-less Scream movie is the worst thing. I think that after setting up a brand new requel and setting this person who has heritage to fucking what's his face, whose name I can't even think of right now,
to
a
fucking
killer in her background,
Billy Loomis.
Billy Loomis
Yeah.
is her dad, Pop Billy, and
Spoilers.
And she has connections to him, and that's the whole story.
Yeah.
And Jenna is also there and is great. And they set that up, and that's the whole thing in 5. And Nev is there too. And then in 6, Nev's not there anymore. She's just happy on her farm. And it's still about Sam. And the ending shot is her looking at the mask and being like, do I keep this? Do I live on the Loomis way? Outside of those things, I don't think that she's that strong. I think that, and this is just my personal opinion, I think she's still a fine actress. She's just my least favorite part of the movies. And I think that they could still figure out a way to make it a good movie. I don't think that, I know that they've done a lot of building, but I still think at the end of the day, if you're able to bring back Nev, that is a big qualifier. If you're able to bring back Nev Campbell, you still have a totally solid Scream movie. I'm not considering the fact that, possibly fuck Spyglass for all of this bullshit in the first place, which is
right. We're just talking about plot.
A fair part. Like will feel, I will go see Scream 7. I will still feel some type of way about Spyglass while I'm watching Scream 7. But I do think you bring back Nev Campbell, you can still have, fuck the core 4. The core 4, it was great. They were great while they lasted, but they all lived. You kept them all alive, so they can just go live happy. And if you bring back Nev Campbell, if you pay her a boatload of money because you didn't pay her right the first time, and you bring back
you gotta pay
Nev
her.
Campbell, I've said that so many times right now, I think that you can still have a good Scream movie.
We don't disagree. I agree with you. I think, she is not, I don't think, I did not really like Melissa in the first movie. I did not love Sam in the first movie. But there's a handful of things I don't love about the first movie. But there's things
Scream
that
5.
I love about the first one. And I think Jenna outshined every other person in 5. Sorry, 5 is what I meant. First of this of their arc. I think Jenna outacted everybody. That's where Jenna really caught my attention was that movie, and specifically
was the opening.
But I think she does a good job. Like her other hospital scene. She's an amazing actress. I think
that's where she catches you. That's where you're like, oh shit, this is something. We got something cooking here. Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people didn't respond super positively to Melissa in that movie, and they kind of comment on that in the second one. Mm-hmm. I think Melissa did a much better job in the second. I really love their dynamic in it. And I had been won over by the character and was interested enough that I was very much so looking forward to Act 3. That's what I feel bummed because we're going to miss Act 3. I agree with you that it's totally, especially if you get Nev back. I really think, this is actually what I'm going to say. I think that the only way that they could pull it off at all, just not letting it die at this point, because it is such a blow to have set something up and not even get to knock it down. I think the only way that you can do it is you have to bring Nev back, and not as a fucking cameo. All right. You don't introduce, 2 new characters. You don't give us you go back to your original and you stick with that. And I think, but also, if you really want to get people's attention, especially with everything going on in the conflict of interest, at this point you gotta bring Matthew back.
Matthew's gotta come back.
You gotta bring him back. That's the only way. That is the only way that you get out of this mess, in my opinion, and it works. We're talking about plot here.
Yeah,
talking about plot. Everything else is incredibly complicated. I'm sure that we will continue to update and whatever as we learn more and we see how things transpire. But we're talking about plot right now. I think that's the only way that you can save this story. If they were to do some shit where they're like, well, we still have our other members of the core. We have the other 2 kids.
I love Jasmine Savoy Brown. I love Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah, or not Cuba Gooding Jr. Mason Gooding. Sorry, Cuba Gooding's son. It's his son. It's his son. They're related.
Is it? That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, that's less funny then. When you first said that, I was like, "Get the fuck out!" Did you?
No,
Okay.
Mason Gooding is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. Sorry,
that checks out.
My brain just went to his dad.
There's logic there. I see it.
Yeah.
Yo, are we gonna get another Snow Dogs? All right. So, but yeah, I think that at this point you have to bring him back. I think that if they were to somehow find a way to get us at the beginning of the next movie to get us to leave the other story behind, and basically Stu found Sydney, Sydney gets a call. Like if the teaser of this is Sydney getting a call and you hear even just Stu's voice saying, "Hi, Sydney," like that I think that would be enough for me to believe in it. But other than that, I think that I'd even just rather them let it die, at least for like another 10 years, and then try to do something else.
If Nev is not in it, there's no chance.
There's no chance.
There's no chance.
No chance. And even then, I'd say, well, what are you going to do? Other than, because at that point, it just feels like, well, now you're going to plan B. We all know that it's awkward because you didn't want to pay her and everything was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But if you did her and Stu, it would feel right. I think everyone would be like, okay. So, but real quick. So Jenna, do you think? I don't know. I think that the coincidence is a bit strong. Where like maybe she was conflicted. She wasn't fully signed on. They were trying to figure it out, negotiations, whatever. And then this happened, and she was like, "Well, I'm out. Like I just don't even want to be. It's too messy at this point. I'm not trying to." Yeah,
I'm not sure. And like I don't want to get deep into speculation. I'm curious if they're repped by similar companies. Yeah, they're not repped by the same people. So, because it might make sense if it was like to boost, Melissa's standing, or not standing, but like, to make them feel a little bit better. Like they're going to release this nugget of news again.
Yeah.
After the fact. But like, I mean, like I said, it was reported that Jenna may not be coming back for this new movie. So.
Right. But now she's officially not coming back.
Now she's officially not coming back.
Yeah.
It's weird that it was reported the day after. There's got to be a reason. Somebody knows somebody. Sure. You know what I mean? Like there's or fucking Deadline's just like rehashing the news. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
to get knowing that Melissa is not coming back for this next one. They were like, well, we didn't get a lot of hits on the first one, so let's rerun this story. Like,
fair. Okay. Well, in that case, then I mean, assuming that none of this other stuff had happened and it was just that Jenna wasn't returning, but Melissa was, I wouldn't have been happy with that either. Frankly, I mean, the movies are paralleling. I kind of wanted to find out that, that we learned some secrets about Jenna. Maybe like something weird was going on, because that would accurately parallel 3. I wanted the next Scream movie to be them filming another stab movie in New York City. And then you find out that Jenna is somehow like involved in something that you didn't know that she was. And it would have been, or Melissa turns, because it's the sibling thing.
Yeah. 2 and 3 have the least strong ending, like reveals. The whole director doing his kind of monologue about why he was going after Sydney is it's kind of goofy.
It is goofy.
And
I do like 3.
I know, I like it too. I think it's weird how it'd be tough to parallel. I know that obviously that's the thing. They've been paralleling the films as they go, but
even just
they gotta
having
do something totally different.
Yeah, even just having sets in New York City, so there's the movie aspect, and then Jenna having some dark fucking twist secret would have been parallel enough to me. It doesn't have to be, I just wanted something. I wanted something. But either way, it's a bummer to see that not come to.
Is it still going to be during Christmas? Who knows?
Who fucking knows? Yeah,
that was supposed
probably
to be
not.
That's probably the last thing that we were talking about is Scream during Christmas.
Do you think Chris is going to stay on? Chris Landon?
No idea.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to go through enough changes that I don't know. I hope for him.
I mean, Radio
Chris is
Sense
awesome.
is still producing. There's still producers on it, and Chris is great. And I'm sure Chris feels some type of way. I mean, he posted that statement. He obviously feels some type of way about it.
Yeah.
He also had the opportunity to direct the 7th iteration of one of the best horror franchises of all time. Like,
yeah,
it's tough. So,
yep. Well,
it is tough. So on that
wait and
note,
see. Yeah.
let us know what you think about Scream in the comments.
Thoughts.
Very excited to get to our conversation with David Lowery. Any final thoughts on David before we go to that place?
It was so cool talking to David. Obviously I love David's movies too. I just know this is a specific, like, you really, really, really love David's movies. I really, really love David's movies, but you really, really, really love David's movies. You know what I mean? It was fun watching you geek. He had such great answers to all of our questions. You can tell, like, just watching, like, even just getting to peek into his brain about how he develops story. And we talk a lot about adaptations. You know, that's a big part of what our conversation is here. It's just a treat, and we could absolutely talk to David more. We could deep dive each movie and get an episode from it each, and I look forward to having him on in the future, and I think that you guys will like this episode.
Great. On that note, we'll get you guys over to our conversation with David Lowery, writer director of The Green Knight, A Ghost Story, Pete's Dragon, Peter Pan and Wendy, Old Man and the Gun, Ain't Them Body Saints, and probably more that I'm forgetting right now. Hope you guys
don't
enjoy.
Let us spoil these movies, by the way, especially Ghost Story. And
these are great ones. Watch all the movies that I listed. You have homework. You heard our Scream part. Listen, watch all those movies.
Do it.
And then stick around. We're gonna play a game of Weirdos Wanted with our friends Jake and Kelsey, and we'll catch you on the Weirdos Wanted side. All right, we are joined today by David Lowery. David is a writer and director known for his films The Green Knight, A Ghost Story, Peter Pan and Wendy, Pete's Dragon, and many, many more. David, thank you for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Absolutely. I want to say, before Sean's going to jump into the first question, David, you've been one of the most gracious conversational guests that we've had without even being on our show. We reached out to you back in, I think, March of this year about having you on the show. This is pre-strike, pre-anything else. And you're a very busy person with shoots. And you guys probably went from like writing or pre-pro to needing to get, SAG to approve shooting again and in post-production, all this stuff. And you finally were able to communicate back after months of talking and let us know you're available to chat. So I just want to say we really appreciate it. A lot of people could have just left us by the wayside, but thank you for doing this with us.
No, of course. I feel like I make movies to have an excuse to talk about movies. So this is my favorite thing to do.
Beautiful. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And a great segue for our first question.
I was about to say, we have this podcast as an excuse to talk to the people that make movies that we really like.
Exactly.
So, totally get it. Yeah. So we're going to jump into one of our favorite questions to ask every guest that we bring on. It's something I'm personally incredibly curious about, but we're looking for your introductions to the horror genre. Maybe a moment when you were a kid and you snuck out and saw something from behind the couch that the grownups were watching, or you had an older sibling or someone in your life show you something that maybe you weren't quite ready for. Do you have anything like that you can share with us today?
Well, I was that older sibling. So if you asked any of my 8 siblings, they would be able to give you that version of the story, which is that David showed me something horrible. But in my case, I always, as my mother would say, I always skewed dark in my tastes. And at some point, I don't know if it was, I became very aware of who Dracula was at some point. And I don't know how I did, but I was very aware of who Dracula was and loved Dracula. And then when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, my mom took me to the library where basically all of my tastes were born in the library. And there were these old storybooks of Universal monster movies. They're like these orange hardcovers that I've been trying to find on eBay, actually. But they had one for like all of the Universal monsters. They had them for a couple of the Toho Godzilla films as well. Right. And it was like a series. And so I just would check those out endlessly and became very well versed in, particularly speaking the universe of the Universal monsters. Loved Creature of the Black Lagoon wholeheartedly. He was my favorite, but also loved Dracula and The Mummy, and then I got some toys related to those movies. I grew up without a TV, so I didn't really see any of these movies until much later. But that was sort of what got the hooks sunk into me. And then there were other things as well, like, and there was never seeing a movie. It was always just hearing about things, like hearing about Ghostbusters, for example. Got really excited about that. And not because of the, I didn't know who Bill Murray was, didn't know what the story was, just some of the imagery that I would see in magazines or on the VHS box. And so I was really desperate to see horror movies. Never actually saw any of them until I was much older. But it was those books and that imagery that really sunk its teeth, claws, what have you, into me.
Oh, I'm Googled, Orange Universal Monster Book, and the first thing that came up is Crestwood House Monster Series, Monster Book of Monsters, and it's like they're the black and white images, but all of the lettering is in orange, and it's like orange on the binding. Does that sound about right?
That must be it.
Yeah, we'll send it over, and maybe that'll help you find them after. Crestwood House Monster Series.
Yes, I just googled it too. That's 100%
perfect.
Yes. I like the idea of outside of pictures that you may have seen of the films that are coming out, or even in these books, like the idea of you reading these stories and really just having the imagery and the plots kind of play out in your own head, as opposed to something being shown to you and you figuring that out. Do you think that was influential on your want to story tell, like the fact that you were kind of gestating these yourself as opposed to seeing films automatically of these stories?
I've thought about that a lot. I think it had a huge effect on the way in which I like to just sort of take in things that I respond to and then regurgitate them back. Because in that case, I was always, writing my own versions of these movies or conjuring them in my head. But often, very, very often, I would be writing my own little storybooks or telling my own versions of them via illustrations, because I, like most kids, drew a lot. And I've still got copies of Star Wars books that I wrote and illustrated before I'd ever even seen any of the Star Wars movies and things like that. So I still do that. I hear about something that sounds cool and I'm like, it somehow seeps into my own work before I've ever even seen it. That happens a lot to me.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So we obviously want to talk about your adaptations, because out of your filmography, a good amount of them are at least based off of something else with your wonderful spin on it. But before that, we want to talk about one of your other films that you've said in an interview. I think it was with Elijah Wood. You talked about how a lot of your films dabble in the language of horror, which I think is really fair. And as a fan, it's always going to seep into what you're doing. So the first thing I want to talk about, which is pretty dissimilar to normal horror films, but is a ghost story. And I'll just, we try not to gush too much on this show, but huge fan of your work, obviously.
Gush a little bit.
Really excited to chat about these films. And this being an original film is really exciting, A, because it's a wonderful premise, but B, because as a self-proclaimed film nerd, it reminded me a lot of Andrei Tarkovsky's Mirror. I haven't really seen anything that's that similar to Mirror, which I think is near the precipice of one of the best films. So you have a story where you're telling this story about a specific space, a space on Earth, but over the course of time. Can you talk about where that idea came from? Because you have this really metaphysical journey through space and time that talks about a physical space, and then you have a man who dies that's covered in a sheet and is a ghost. They're kind of dissimilar concepts. So I'm curious where that all came from.
Yeah, I suppose they are sort of, they were two ideas moving on parallel tracks that at some point converged. I know it began with the ghost in the sheet, because that was a concept that predated the movie in this form. I just really wanted to make a haunted house movie with someone wearing a bed sheet. And at first I thought it was just a joke. It was completely just a joke. And by the time I started seriously thinking about making this movie, which was not too far away from when we actually shot it. It was a very compressed movie. We made it went from idea to finished product, very, very quickly. But I had the idea of doing something that was less narrative and more of a, just maybe an art installation even. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I wanted to get images of a ghost in a house. Just it would be long Tarkovskian shots, perhaps. Tsai Ming Liang is another director who I really love, who uses duration as a tool. And I was thinking about a film he had made recently called Stray Dogs that has this incredible 18-minute long shot in it, and in what appears to be a liminal haunted environment. In any case, I could go on about his movies all day long, but the initial idea was like this ghost who's haunting a house, and we would just follow him or her from room to room and just hold on the image of this specter haunting one space after a next in this house. And I started writing that, and then it just grew from there. And the more cosmic half of the movie after Rooney Mara leaves sort of was, I say I wrote most of the script in one night, which is true. Like I wrote everything kind of up till where she leaves, and I thought maybe that would be the ending. And then I thought, that doesn't seem like it's quite done yet. Let's just keep going. And the next day I wrote the rest of it, but it quickly morphed into this idea of the way some things change when subjected to duration and the way other things stay the same. And that is something I've thought about. I've always thought about. That's something that's always fascinated me. And the way in which time moves, especially as a filmmaker, it's something you think about a lot. You're thinking about an image and the way in which an audience is going to be regarding this image for this or that period of time, and you're subjecting them to that. And so a lot of my philosophical concepts of time and space did emerge from working as an editor, and they were percolating in my head for a long time and eventually just spilled out into this movie. But you can see traces of it in earlier work. I made this movie called Ain't Them Body Saints that doesn't have a lot of that in there, but the original script actually did have this big jump forward in time at the very end. It's interesting to think about. I haven't thought about that in a long time, but like the very end of that script originally jumped forward in time, and you would have seen like the decayed bodies of everyone who died over the course of the movie, reduced to skeletons and just buried in the dirt. And that's imagery that of course shows up in the ghost story as well. But those ideas of like the way in which time can render something meaningless or bury something's meaning it's something that I've been stewing on for a long time and continue to work on. I did this short film called Pioneer, that I think is still my favorite movie I've ever made. And that is almost in some ways it's a sister movie to A Ghost Story, but it's also a different telling of the same story. And someone who watched A Ghost Story early on was like, "Oh, you just made a feature-length adaptation of Pioneer. It's the same movie," which isn't 100% true, but there's a significant degree of crossover parallel there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you also have, even in The Green Knight, you have a moment where you know the kind of slow pan around in the woods, like you quickly touch on the decaying of Gawain's character throughout the course, kind of like a looking forward moment, which is, as soon as you started describing the proposed end of Ain't the Body Saints, that's exactly what came to mind. I'm curious.
I have these ideas and I hang on to them. It's like, even if I don't get them on one movie, they're going to show up somewhere else, because it's the stuff that's important to me. Like in some ways, that ending of Ain't the Body Saints that we didn't shoot is in some ways maybe the most important thing to me, and I had to keep making more movies to finally get that out.
Yeah, I love that you were able to finally get it somewhere. I'm curious about you talking about duration as a tool in filmmaking is something that a lot of people don't talk about, I feel like, as a specific tool or element of films. And I think again, going back to something that you said in another interview, you talked about your films having leisurely momentum, which a lot of layman film watchers will just say that movies are slow. And especially if we talk about horror, it's something where I think the normal population that's going to see a horror film, if they see a slow horror film, are going to be like averse to liking it. I'm curious your thoughts on going out and making a film that is slower paced, and knowing that the people that understand it will understand it and the people that don't won't. And also if you have any like feelings one way or the other, because you have films that are on different sides of that spectrum. But A Ghost Story is a great example of like a pretty slowly paced film that really like hits the mark. So I'm curious your thoughts on that from an outside perspective.
A friend of mine once described one of my movies as and maybe this was a friendly backhanded compliment, but he said some movies are like rivers rushing along and others are like streams sort of trickling along, and yours is sort of like a lake and it just sits there and ripples at the shore. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. I really loved that. And I've kind of, whether he meant that in a positive or negative tone or not, I've kind of hung on to that. And I was like, that is very indicative of me as a person, but also the types of movies that I make that are reflective of me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I love momentum. Like, I find that it's one of the things I'm always seeking in my filmmaking, but sometimes the levers that you pull are very minute and they just get a little pebble to like move an inch. And sometimes that's enough. With A Ghost Story, I knew what I was making from the minute I thought about it. You know, the minute I thought of that version that was an art installation of a ghost just standing in one place for 15 minutes in a single unbroken shot, that was the type of movie that was meant to be. And it's the type of movie that I feel that I'm best suited to making, but I haven't done it again since then. Since then, I've certainly been pursuing like things that move at a clip, move at a rapid pace, that cram a lot into a short running time.
Mm-hmm.
But the zone at which I'm most comfortable, where I know that I can excel, is certainly with an expanse, where I can just take 1 second and stretch it out to whatever that moment needs. I really love doing that, and I love as a moviegoer watching movies that do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I exist on both spectrums there as well, because sometimes I just want to see something. I'll look at, you know, the running time of something and be like, I need a 90-minute movie that moves at a fast clip right now. That's just what I need. But other times I want to luxuriate in something and to just sit there and feel it, just feel it like its existence, and just be with it in that as that time passes. I love it when a movie starts to use time as sort of an accomplice, where you are not only watching the image, but you all of a sudden become aware of how long you've been watching that image, and all of those feelings start to just, you know, your own personal life starts to enter into the frame in which you're watching something, because you are aware of how long you've been watching it. And it's a really special experience. And then it goes away again. That's what's even best. You hold something that's long enough that it then goes back away and you're focused on the film again. I really, there was a movie by Apichatpong Veerasethagal last year called Memory that had one of the most amazing, he's obviously a master of a sustained shot that endures for a long period of time. But there's a moment with Tilda Swinton and another man sitting by a creek that is one of just my favorite sustained moments in a movie in recent memory, no pun intended. And so much goes on in the viewer's head and in the film over the course of however long the shot lasts and endures. And it's so rich and so profound. And it's one of the best big screen experiences I've had in the past couple of years.
That
Absolutely.
was the one that they road showed, that they like just continuously road showed that film, right? Okay. Yeah, I never got a chance to see it because I'm a big physical media guy, and they're like, we're never going to release this, and so I was like, all right, when it comes back, it'll.
Yeah, I was like, that's the movie to do it on. Like, that's I'm a huge physical media collector, but I was like, I'm happy that one only exists in this form.
Right, just as this experience. Yeah, it's especially in stories talking about like deep sadness and grief and things like that, and horror, those lingering shots just force you to stay in moments that in real life you can't actually escape. So I kind of love that. I think of Funny Games when he's tied up on the floor, like it's just this agonizing long shot, and it's exhausting for the viewer, but that's you know the intent.
It's a taboo. Like, it's one of the few things that you can do to really provoke an audience, because audiences are very accustomed to jump scares or to violence or to uncomfortable material. But if you can force them to regard something that is unpleasant for a long period of time and just have to wrestle with it and confront it and not cut away from it, that's one of the few things you can do that will really provoke people and upset them.
Absolutely. It's, a ghost story is filled with these iconic, memorable images and moments. I think of, I specifically love when the other ghost says, I guess they're not coming back in the fall. Like, I remember that. I remember the fall off the building. But I think one of the most memorable scenes of the whole movie, and something that I heard about from Steve and our buddy Bruce, because they saw it before I did, was the pie scene. So I have to bring up the pie eating scene, because it's almost funny in a moment with how long it goes, but then it's like deeply sad. And I'm just curious how, like, what the decision to go, like, to really drag that moment out and what that means to you. I think I know what I got from her character and stuff in that, but I want to hear from you what that scene's about.
Well, it was definitely meant to encompass all of those emotions and to just allow us to sit there with her in those emotions, because I wanted to represent grief in a way that felt profound. And grief, in my experience, is something that you can't put it in a box. You can't just like say, here's a shot of someone crying and this encompasses grief in its totality. No movie will ever encompass grief in its totality, because grief is such a personal thing, but it does have so many shades to it, and it is such a physical thing. It can come and go. It can come up and surprise you, sneak up and surprise you, and you feel it on a deeply physical level. And so I wanted to show something physical happening rather than just weeping or sitting by a gravestone or looking at a picture, all of the usual connotations of grief that you would see in a film. I wanted something very physical happening, and the most physical thing that someone can usually do on their own is eating. And
yeah,
at least that you want to show in a film. And so that became sort of the hinge for that sequence. I was like, okay, we're gonna have a sequence of her just eating. I mean, it's something I do when I'm really upset. I eat my feelings, definitely.
Yeah.
and I was like, this is I have a feeling this is a universal concept. It's something that everyone will understand, and we're going to stay in it long enough to really have all of those emotions, not just for Rooney performing the scene, but for the audience, where they will feel sad, then they'll feel bored, then they might feel a little amused and start wondering what's going on, and hopefully you wind up all the way back at feeling very moved again by the end of it. And I didn't know how long it would actually be. Like, I didn't know, we didn't have like a timer on set, but I told Rooney, we talked a lot about that scene, and that was something that I sort of left up to her. I was like, this is about feeling all these emotions, and it's also about just eating this food that's this delicious chocolate pie that my producer baked. And just whenever you feel the scene's done, it's done, but don't feel the need to rush it. And it was one take. And
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope she didn't eat 4 pies, David.
No, I said, I promised her it would only be one. And unless there was like a technical error. And we were very like, I know like Andrew, my cinematographer, and I, we were talking about how to shoot it. And we were just like, we've got to keep it as simple as possible. We can't put it up, we can't have a dolly can't creep in. We can't have anything fancy. We just have to let the emotion and the composition and the contents of the frame be everything. And we didn't even have the ghost in that shot. We shot the ghost separately because I didn't want, sometimes like it's really easy to trip while wearing that costume, or if you're standing still for a really long time, your legs buckle, like it's really hot and uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't want that to ruin everything else. So we shot the ghost as a separate element and composited them in.
Too many variables. Exactly. It's the only thing you need.
Yep. I have to say, I think you absolutely nailed it. I lost someone very close to me recently, and yeah, the grief, just being stuck in a moment like that. And I kind of saw her, like, she sees the pie, she's in this dissociative state, and she feels like she has no control. She's like, that's something I can accomplish. That's something I can control. And I'm just going to eat this pie until I feel something. I'm going to fill the hole. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, it's a tangible thing that you can do. It's like
exactly.
It's something that makes sense in that.
Yes,
moment.
in a in a life that now doesn't make any sense anymore. I also have to bring up, and I know you're probably not going to answer me, but I have to ask before we move on from this movie. I understand that ambiguity is all the rage. I understand that this movie is supposed to cause a lot of self-reflection, and in the same way, the note is like a device for us to reflect. And ultimately all that matters is that the note said whatever he needed it to say to move on, and by that same logic, the note says whatever we the viewer need it to say so that I can sleep at night. David, but what did the note say?
It was one of those things where I asked Rooney to write something when we shot the scene of her putting it in the wall. I was like, write it, fold it up, and don't tell us what you wrote. Just write something that's really meaningful to you. And so as she did, and then she put it in the wall and painted over it. And of course, this is a movie, so when Casey pulls it out of the wall later on, that's a different one, because the one that was in there would have been covered in gunk and dried paint, and that one didn't have anything at all written on it, which is just not to spoil the movie magic of it, but it was a different piece of paper. But the one that she actually wrote on and put in the wall, whatever the note says is what she wrote on it. And I feel like I was in the, on set, we were all like kind of in the same mindset. I have a vague idea of what she probably wrote, which is something along the lines of, she talks about earlier in the film how she'll just write little memories that mean something only to her. So it could have been something like that about the shoot, or it could have been, but it was probably something about like, it's okay, you can leave. Something letting the character know that it was okay for him to let go, and knowing that he was still in that house with her. Because we were talking a lot about that. That was a lot of the contents of our conversations around the movie, and her departure from it at that point, knowing that the movie would keep going and that she was leaving and that we were going to keep shooting. And so I suspect there was something along those lines, but I love just not knowing. I love speculating. I also love the idea that she could have just written like a pie recipe. And like not to make light of that moment, but like it could have been something that was just really meaningful to her, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully Sean
I was so like, I was like, I get it, and I know that the movie's so much better. It's perfect the way it is, but I have to know. But I'll take it.
So we obviously want to talk about horror, but the Green Knight is it's one of my favorite films. You can see I have the stuff behind me, but I want to talk about one thing. We creep closer to Christmas, and one of my favorite things about Christmas is that I can do my now annual watch of the Green Knight, because I think that the Green Knight is a Christmas film. Would you agree? Yeah. I mean, you obviously set it up specifically around the holiday based on the original poem, but would you agree that it's a Christmas movie? Am I off base there?
Yeah, it's absolutely meant to be a Christmas movie.
Great.
And I'm disappointed that it's not more Christmassy. We were shooting in Ireland in the springtime, and every time like a leaf would pop up on a tree, I'd be like, no, this doesn't feel Christmassy anymore. we even had like a whole scene with fake snow, and I didn't use it because it just looked too fake. But I was like, we got to make this movie more Christmassy. We need more Christmas accoutrement to accent the edges of the frames. And one of the pieces of music is, I was like, ask Daniel Hart, my composer, like, write a medieval Christmas carol for us to put in here, just to add a little bit of like that Christmas feeling. So anyway, it is meant to be a Christmas movie, and I love Christmas movies myself.
Great. Okay, I'm glad. From the director himself, I feel like I can tell everyone now that I'm watching this on Christmas, and it makes sense. And before we leave the Green Knight, and I could talk about the Green Knight for forever, but want to talk about other things. I didn't know the right way to pose this question to you, but when Sean and I first saw the Green Knight, I feel like, I think it got pushed a bit. Oh, obviously it got pushed because of COVID. Yeah. I looked forward to this film for so long, and finally, after what felt like a decade, I was able to see it and was very excited. Yeah. And I think because I knew your previous work, I knew what I was going in to see. But I think a lot of people, and I think I've heard you, like recognize this, like people are going in sometimes thinking that they're going to see sword fighting and, things of that nature because of the source material. And one of the things that I think that people were taken aback by, maybe one of the parts of a scene, is when Gawain is with Alicia Vikander near the end of the film, right before he leaves, you show something on the green sash that I feel like a lot of I will just say there's ejaculation in your film, and
yeah,
I haven't heard you talk about it, and it's something that, like, you know, I think as a horror fan, I'll see anything on a film and be like, okay, that's fine, and just take it in stride. But that's something that a lot of people maybe going into an A24, you know, genre film weren't expecting. I'm really curious if you could just give us a brief explanation on why you felt like you needed to include that.
I don't remember anything other than writing the script and just thinking like that is like the natural thing to see, and that normally you wouldn't show it. Like I certainly know that normally you wouldn't show that in a film, but it felt like the right capper to that moment in the movie. Like dramatically, narratively, on an emotional level, it felt important to show, and I was like, there's no reason not to. I feel like on set there was like a worry that it would be a joke, or that everyone knew, like we were making jokes. We're making lots of something about Mary jokes while we were shooting. And I was like, I don't think it'll play that way in the movie. I have to remember telling the actors, it's not going to play that way. It should play like oddly, like unsettling, maybe a little beautiful, but also just very organic. And I think that's what, to me, it plays like. I mean, it's obviously it's a period on the end of that sentence. It is a indication of a failing on Dev's character's part, in a very physical way that we don't, you know, speaking of ambiguity, we're like leaving nothing ambiguous there. So, but it is, I don't know, like I feel like bodily fluids are probably something that are underserved in movies. We get a lot of blood, fair amount of puke, not much else, I guess.
Yeah.
And
that's a good takeaway. I agree.
That's the quote for the episode.
Yeah.
Bodily fluids. Perfect.
Yeah, that's very fair. I feel the same way. I think it had the impact that you were striving for, but I definitely remember in the first viewing of it, the dude bros, for lack of a better term, that were watching the film kind of next to me in the row were like, whoa. And I was like, all right, like this is what we're getting into here. Like it's this type of movie.
I figured that would happen. And I certainly knew that it would be memorable. Like I wasn't like unaware, but I wasn't doing it just for shock value. I was doing it because it felt like it was the best visual representation of where the character is in that moment. And it should be somewhat shocking, I suppose. That's great. It's great if it is, but I also was not surprised to hear that there were some titters among the audience. That's to be expected.
Sure.
Yeah. So again, I could talk about the Green Knight forever, but I want to talk about something that you referred to back when you were talking about the initial way that you storytell or began to storytell with adapting things. So your filmography is a lot of adaptation, whether it's from an article that a journalist wrote, or an old poem, or an original, you know, Disney film, or a number of Disney films. I'm curious your thoughts on adaptations. One of the reasons that I love the Green Knight so much is because of the I don't know what the actual term is, like fabletic nature to it. I think that's why it's such an easy watch. And I've heard you use the term, you know, capital M mythology when you're writing these stories. And I think when you have a source material, it may be almost easier to create that an expanded mythology. I'm curious your thoughts on adaptation, because Sean and I are big fans of when things are recreated or based on source material. And obviously your original work is amazing, but why do you seem to gravitate towards adaptation a lot?
Sometimes it's just because I'm a little bit lazy, and it is helpful when setting out to write a script if you have the beginning, middle, and end kind of already laid out for you.
That's fair.
And it I'm being a little bit facetious there, but part of it is I like to make things. I like to make films, and the writing is sometimes the thing that can slow it down the most. Mm-hmm. Because I'll spend forever working on something, and the movie I'm working on right now, for example, is an original idea. It was not based on anything, and the idea, I think, first came to me in 2018, and I've been just sort of percolating on it and developing it ever since then. I started writing it while we were shooting The Green Knight, I wrote the first 20 pages, and then it's taken until now to bring it to life. And I am very impatient, and I like letting things take as long as they need, but I also want to make more movies. And sometimes I'll be reading a book, or someone will send me a book or an article, and the movie will just present itself to me, and it's sort of like a quick leapfrog over an original idea that may still be brewing, to just have this concept that's ready made, that fits my set of interests, that ignites some sort of passion in me, and it allows me to tell a story that I didn't know I wanted to tell, but do want to tell, and to do things as a filmmaker that I want to do. And so that's why I've done so many adaptations, is because I'll read something, I'll get excited and just want to live in that world for a little bit. But I'm trying to force myself to slow down. I'm trying to force myself to give those original ideas or movies or screenplays a little bit more time to breathe, because the one I just did was really exciting, but it also is a muscle I hadn't used in a long time, because I've had the luxury of being able to turn to the source material so much. That being said, I do love the process of adaptation. I love the art of adaptation. It's closer to translation, I think, when you're adapting something for the screen. And as an audience member, I love when a book is done justice on the big screen, but it so rarely is done, because so often you're just trying to hit the checklist of events. But when a movie can really capture the spirit of a text, that's really exciting. And it's something in the movies I've made that are based on books, which are most of them at this point, I do try to do that. A movie like Peter Pan and Wendy is certainly going to be more of a checklist, because you are just trying to, especially with that movie, hit the events that audiences already know. Like, they already know the story backwards and forwards, and you're trying to just inject some novelty into a very well-trodden tale. And you can't throw that tale away. You have to just hit the beats that people love, but also make them feel revitalized and rejuvenated and fresh. But with something like The Old Man and the Gun, that was a really interesting adaptation. It was based on an article by David Gran, and I think that was the first thing I'd done that was based on anything. I was writing that at the same time as Pete's Dragon. And Pete's Dragon was, for all intents and purposes, an original movie. It wasn't based on the original film at all. So The Old Man and the Gun was my first adaptation. And I initially tried to write it in a very journalistic sense, where I was going to try to follow David Gran's footsteps and get his sources and write something that was very true to the real events. And I realized I'm no good at that. Like, that is not who I am. I am not a journalistic filmmaker. I make, as you said earlier, like, I like to make mythologies with a capital M, and I like fables. I like fairy tales. I like bedtime stories. And so I was trying to figure out a way in which I could merge David Gran's article with those intentions that I have. And the thing that I ultimately realized I could do was, like, I'm just going to literally stick to the text of the article. There's nothing in the movie that, I mean, there is some invention, but there's everything that is true to life is going to be limited to what's in the article. And that comes down to the costume design, which is based on the illustration that was in the New Yorker. I was like, how literal of an adaptation can I do while also making this movie feel like like a bedtime story, or a little piece of minor key, lowercase m mythology. And so I'm really proud of that act of adaptation. Whether the movie works or not is sort of like a different question, but like the way in which I adapted it, again, going down to the words that were on the page, the illustration that was in the magazine, in the hard copy of the magazine, that was a really interesting process for me.
Yeah, we talk about, adaptations and remakes and stuff so much on the show, and we're living in a world where we're hearing some people talk about, being frustrated about remakes and stuff. But I love everything you just said, and it just makes me think about how it's also just it's just what we've always done as a species, is is tell stories, especially yes, it's how you keep them alive. And like, you know, when we were just telling stories by mouth, like they adapted and they changed, and it's not doing like a disservice to the original story to get new versions of it and new takes and things like that. So I think it's really important.
It's something that I want to have a balance. Like, I don't want to explicitly just do remakes, but I don't mind them. I don't mind them at all.
Yeah.
And I really, as an audience member, again, like sometimes really get excited and really enjoy when a story that I've found some value in the past is recontextualized for me.
Yes.
And I think that's why I love both versions of Suspiria so much, because there's a little bit of the DNA is there, but they're two different versions of the same thing, and they're so wildly different that I can love both of them equally and don't feel any sort of one's not trotting on the other in any shape, way, or form.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I do have to ask. It's really interesting that you know, your two Disney adaptations, Peter Pan and Pete's Dragon, are two of my like deep childhood. Like, they were two of the absolute big ones for me. They were a huge part of my relationship with my grandma. I'm just curious if those like stories were really big to you, and that's why you ended up working on them. I'm also curious. Sorry, it's a two-parter. Notorious for them.
All good.
Between those two stories and the ghost story, it just seems like there's a lot of focus on hesitation to move forward, and I'm just wondering if that concept means a lot to you, or is something that you struggle with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I stayed at, I lived at my parents' house until well into my 20s. I was so terrified of moving out into the world and letting go of my childhood. It's something that I feel like I've only recently kind of started to come to terms with.
Completely understand.
I don't think I'll ever be able to fully let go of that. Like, that is it's a big part of who I am. And so that's why, especially Peter Pan meant a lot to me. And I recognized it in myself, you know, in my 20s. I remember when the 2003 version that PJ Hogan made came out, and I was like, oh, this feels so eerily autobiographical.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I love that movie, but I was like, it really struck me at that point in my life, because I would have been 22 when that opened. And it really hit me that I was like, oh, I am stuck in this place, and I don't know how to move out of it. And the tragedy of the character of Peter Pan, like, really kind of like landed on my shoulders at that point in a really profound way. And that's something when I talk about taking a classic story like that and trying to find something new, I was like, I want to make Peter Pan far more tragic as a character, and show that he is not on the right path in life. Like, that was something that was important to me because of my own experience there. With Pete's Dragon, that was a movie that I oddly was afraid to watch for a very specific reason. I did see it at a very young age, because I think most of us saw it on VHS, because it was one of the very first Disney VHS tapes. And all of the Disney movies in that era of the clamshell live action Disney movies, like Bedknobs and Broomsticks and anything of that ilk, had a trailer on it for The Watcher in the Woods.
Oh,
and I don't know if you've seen The Watcher in the Woods or its trailer, but that
Someone
trailer
recently
terrified
told us
me.
about
It was the director of the werewolf
Animal.
movie.
Yeah.
My
amazing.
Animal. Yes. Yeah.
That trailer scarred me. Like, I could not have a mirror in my bedroom because of that trailer, nor did I want to watch any Disney movie. If it was a Disney movie on VHS, I would leave the room until the movie was well underway, so that I would just be assured that trailer would not cross my field of vision. It was so scary.
That.
And the trailer is terrifying. I look at it now on YouTube and I'm like, how did Disney put this out? It is so scary. The movie itself is less scary than the trailer, just because it's longer and has fewer scary parts in it. But the imagery is so frightening.
Huh.
Wow. So in any case, Pete's Dragon scared me.
Yeah, love it. Wow.
That's how I feel when you, not terrified, but when you see a trailer, you go to the movies too often. You see the same trailer over and over and over again. You're like, I'm just gonna wait until that's done. Same experience, but for VHS. That makes sense.
A scary trailer before a movie you watched as a kid. My Nutty Professor, I think, had Jaws before it. I used to watch this movie that had I'm telling you, man, there was a movie called My Teacher Ate My Homework that used to scare the crap out of me, and I think it was like before Iron Giant or something. I don't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
and it was because on VHS everything would be just baked in. You couldn't skip past them. It's just like you could fast forward, but they were just there, and most people were not afraid of it the way I was. So all the other kids at the sleepover would be like, "Oh, cool! This is a fun-looking movie," and I'd be crying. And
Relatable.
Well, I'm glad you were able to overcome that by your somewhat adaptation of Pete's Dragon. That's funny. So we obviously, one of the reasons that we, outside of being a fan of your work, wanted to chat with you on the show is have heard you talk about being a horror fan a number of times, and wanted to, we talked about your intro to horror, but wanted to dive into your love of it and the various films. You were so gracious to give us a list of a list of horror films that you enjoy and various reasons why you enjoy them. One of the last ones that was on your list, which I'm going to start off with, and you said you normally don't say it because you see it as a landmark of film, which I think is totally fair, is The Shining. And I actually looked at the Taschen book that you were saying, and it's like the most insane collection of anything that I've ever seen. It's massive. If we're talking about the same one,
it is incredible.
Yeah,
it's a book that is hard to justify buying because it is so expensive. But I used my per diem on my last movie to buy it, and I was like, this is a wrap gift for myself. And it was so good. It's unbelievable. I can only imagine there will be at some point. Taschen always does these giant versions, and they'll put out a compressed version that doesn't have like the crazy box and this book as it currently exists is 3 books, and there are more. I think there's like 4 volumes in there, and it'll eventually get compressed into one that is far more cost effective. But what's really incredible about it is the book that Leon Gritch and J.W. Rinsler wrote about the making of it, which I don't know if you have read J.W. Rinsler. He's sadly passed away, but he did these incredible making of books on the original Star Wars movies, Alien and Aliens, Planet of the Apes. And what he does is he would just basically go to the studios and get all of the old production reports, all of the old call sheets, and augment them with interviews, which in this case Leon Gritch did with all the crew members, and basically take you through a shoot day by day. So you're just like, oh, it's day 47 of The Shining. What are they shooting today? And he has all of the production reports and the call sheets, and then interviews to sort of like fill in the blank spaces on those on a very practical level. And it is an incredible experience to read, especially with a movie like The Shining that we all feel like we know backwards and forwards, and just see how it was made, under what circumstances it was made, how people were feeling on day 12 versus day 98. It's really an exceptionally profound experience to read, and has reignited my already great love of that movie.
I'm curious with The Shining. That's an interesting example because it is an adaptation, but it's also it takes a fair amount of liberty on the source material. It's also a Kubrick film, and it's just, again, like you said in your email, landmark in cinema. Is there a specific reason out of the many why it is so influential to you? I know it's influential to obviously so many people, but I'm curious if there's anything that stands out for The Shining in terms of your filmmaker experience.
It grows with you. It's like all great movies will grow with you. So when I first saw it, it was purely, the thing that stuck with me was how scared I was watching it. And I'd read the book already. I think I saw it in like my freshman year in high school. And I just had always heard about how scary it was. It's the scariest movie ever made. And finally watched it, and it lived up to the hype. I think it really scared me and unsettled me. And then as I got more into Kubrick, I started to really appreciate what he was bringing to it as a filmmaker. And as I make more movies, the way in which he made it, and the way he masters that tone and sustains that tone, and then we'll do something like show a snap zoom to a bunch of skeletons covered in cobwebs, like things like that, where you're just like, the first time you watch, you just accept it, and then you're like, why does it do that? Why did he do that? Why does it work? You start to unpack those things, and and I come up with all my own reasons for it, and then reading this book, you watch and listen and hear the justification for all of these choices and all of the pushback he got on certain aspects of it, all of the disagreements, people saying like, this is not a good idea, don't do this, don't do that. Killing off Dick Halloran came so late in the script. Like that was like something that was not part of the script until the very end. And like you watch him like wrestle with that decision and explain why he wants to do it and why he thinks it's the right choice, even though everyone else is saying no. And like, those are things that I've spent years just sort of like processing on my own, and it's pretty incredible to just like have that veil lifted and just watch in almost in real time the process of this masterpiece getting made in the way it was, and it was explicitly designed to do what it did, which is to endure and to leave you uncertain as to why you are so unsettled or so frightened.
Absolutely. Would you say that your like you said you read the book first, so the movie was drastically more impactful for you, or is there like this weird love for both, or how's that relationship?
I was never disappointed by it. Like that, it didn't bother me that it differed from the book, and
Sure.
I had no issues with that. Only because as a reader and filmmaker, like Kubrick has stuck with me longer than Stephen King has. I suppose
Sure.
the movie has grown in estimation, whereas the book has sort of stayed where it was for me when I was 11 or 12 when I first read it. But I loved the book, and it was a book that I paper clipped, the room. What's the room in the book? It's not 237. It's 217.
I have it on my keys.
Whichever room it was. Yeah. I was so scared of it. That was back in the days where I'd read a book and instantly just go read it again because I loved it so much, and I wouldn't read that chapter again because it scared me so badly. And I just would put a paperclip on those pages just so I could just jump past them.
Got you. Okay. I was just curious because people have obviously very strong opinions on that. I love both. I saw the movie way before the book, but another franchise that you brought up in your email to us is the Halloween series. I have a deep love for the Halloween series. Another thing that a lot of people have very controversial opinions about. I'm just curious, if you could talk about the franchise as a whole and maybe ones, like if you could rank them maybe, or just what your thoughts are on the,
but maybe
maybe not a rank, but you know what I mean? Like, let me know what you think of the franchise.
So many people are just baffled as to why there was ever anything beyond the first one. Like people like say, why doesn't anyone care? The first one is the only good one. It's the only one that's worth watching.
Sure.
And I agree. Like the first one is totemic and you can't touch it, but something about the rest of them are so charming in the way in which the filmmakers try to wrestle a franchise out of this iconic character that I can't help but love them. And I also have to admit, like Michael Myers was my first slasher movie. Like that was the first slasher movie I ever saw. So I've got a great nostalgic love for the character. And I saw it right when Halloween 6 was coming out. So the trailers for Halloween 6 were on TV like all the time. I'd watch The Simpsons and then I'd see Donald Pleasence swing like, I knew what he was, but I didn't know why. And that line just like stuck with me, obviously, because I can still quote it. And I just love the image of Michael Myers. Like that was a very, I think the reason I loved Freddy when I finally got around to watching the Nightmare series, I thought Jason was cool, but like even as a little kid going to the video store and looking through the horror section, something about the image of Michael Myers always really stuck with me because of the opaque, blank nature of evil that he represents. It was very clear even in the just video box artwork that was something more primal and more nightmarish than Freddy or Jason. The movies are just such a crazy mixed bag. Like it's hilarious. Like, and I love, there's an amazing book called Taking Shape that came out a couple of years ago about like an exhaustive deep dive into just the saga that entire franchise. It goes through the making of every single one, the development of every single movie. It came out right before I think the 2018 movie, or maybe right after. So I think it stops right after the Rob Zombie films, but it is really fascinating to watch the ways in which they just try to just keep this property alive, and
Yeah.
everyone, it's, I can't say they're great movies because they're not, but something about Michael Myers rises above whatever the story is. Even the Halloween Resurrection, has like an appeal to it because of Michael Myers, and so I will always go to bat for the Halloween franchise, even though I will also admit that the first one is untouchable and really the only one that you should probably watch.
I appreciate that so much. I love that it's for me, it's like a pick your own adventure. You get to pick what timeline you want, you know.
Exactly.
I love 1, 2, 4, and 5. The Jamie arc is just my thing. I really love that. But yeah, you get to pick.
I think the ending of 4 is great. Like, it's such a good ending, and it's like, it's right up there. It's right up there with the first one in terms of like, what a great like inversion of how we began this journey. And maybe the teens are annoying, maybe like the characters aren't as good, but like it's still got it packs a real punch there at the ending.
Yeah.
And I like the, you know, liking is the wrong word, but like Rob Zombie's second Halloween film, there's like, I liked seeing this iconic character in that context. The first one I've got issues with, I think a lot of people do, but the second one was really interesting. And the direction he took it, and how I felt it was genuinely pretty scary and frightening and unsettling, and so I'll go to bat for that one too.
That's so interesting. I usually hear the flip. I usually hear that people have issues with the second and are more okay with the first, but there are people that really hate all the little Michael stuff. I love it. I get it. We could have a whole episode talking about Halloween.
I think the way that you said choose your own adventure is great. Like, I'm like, this is when people are like, when the new series that I guess Miramax is going to make got announced, it was sort of like, people are like, just let it die, let Michael die. I'm like, no, just like, this is great. Let's keep it going. I'm there for it. I'm
option C, which is where we go back to the third Halloween film and we make it an anthology series, and we do, you know, what was possibly intended from the get-go.
I love that too.
That's the other school of thought. So there's a number of films on your list that we could hit on. I want to know your involvement with, and this is one you didn't list, but you're listed as an executive producer on We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is one of my favorite horror films to come out in the past couple of years. I'm curious on your involvement, or at least your thoughts about that film. It's I think it fits in with the type of films that you would make in the horror genre, or at least like leans towards that style. So I'm curious on your thoughts of being a wonderful original horror film.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most original and modern, like in the best sense of the word horror films that has come across the screen in quite a while. Like, it feels like it's pushing into a new formal territory that is something I'm not, you know, obviously we're on Zoom right now. I'm fairly well versed in technology, but I haven't seen it utilized in a way that captured its potential for horror and fear in such a way. And I'd known Jane for a long time through IFP and various independent film programs in New York, and her program, The Ice Slicer, which was a traveling anthology series that of short films. And she sent me this movie after it was in a pretty good stage editorially. Like, I knew she was making it, but I hadn't seen it, and she sent it to me and asked if I could do anything to help, if I, you know, help just get it out into the world as it was nearing its Sundance premiere. And so that's how I became involved with it. I was just really just a cheerleader, and I will continue to be a cheerleader for it because it's an incredible, incredible movie. And I'm very excited to see her next work, which I think is just about done.
I know. I was gonna say I feel like checking IMDb Pro for like, or any update for I can't remember the title of it, but her next film is very, very excited for that. So again, I know I said we could talk about a number of the ones that you listed, but at the end of our conversations, we always like to ask for what we call mostly horror recommendations. So essentially what that amounts to is a horror film and a non-horror film that you would recommend to our listeners. It could also be any other form of media if you'd prefer that. But I'm curious if you had to choose just one horror film for our listeners to check out, and then a non-horror film, if you would indulge us.
Well, every year, my wife and I have a 48-hour horror movie marathon at our house where we just invite our friends over and just mainline horror movies. And we used to do it all night long. It used to be 24 hours, and we would just do it 24 straight hours. Then we got old and decided that we could enjoy the movies more if we had a nap in between.
Yep.
So it stretched out to 48 hours. And we try to always program things that we know that we love, that we want to show people. No one knows the lineup before they get to our house or before the movies play, but then also just things that we've always wanted to see and that we've had trouble finding, or just for some reason or another have always overlooked. And so sometimes there are hits and misses, but this year we had a great lineup, and the movie that I'd been wanting to see for years, it had been hard to find. Severin finally put a Blu-ray out of it, and we showed that, was Blood on Satan's Claw, which was pretty exceptional. It is a movie that when that box set of folk horror came out, there was a documentary called, the title is like, I can't remember the title. It's a
it has a really long name.
It has a long name. Either, yeah. I love
Something
long titles.
Bewitched.
But
yeah.
Yes. Dark Days Dark and Bewitched. I can't remember, but
yeah,
that documentary featured it heavily. It's like one of the most iconic folk horror titles, and it was just hard to find for the longest time. And because we've been doing this Halloween marathon for 11 years now, so like we've been wanting to show it, and finally got the Blu-ray that Severin had put out, and it was really. It's a scary movie. Like, it feels like it's going into really dark and uncomfortable places, almost to where we were showing it to an audience, like a group of friends. We're like, "Oh, this is really uncomfortable all of a sudden," and it's really stuck with me. It would make a really good double bill with The Witchfinder General, the Vincent Price movie. It's very much along the lines of that, but I think it gets to an even darker and more primal place. And it's if you did that, Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's Claw, and The Wicker Man, what an incredible triple header that would be.
I was going to ask if it lived in the thematic, or at least like folk space that The Wicker Man lives in.
It does, but it's much more unsettling than The Wicker Man, I think.
Right.
And it's crazy to imagine audiences in 1972 going to see this movie, and like I just imagine people felt scandalized afterwards.
Oh, that's I couldn't remember. I knew that I had seen or heard of it somewhere, and I was trying to figure out if someone else had recommended it months ago, but you said it's in that doc, and I loved that doc, and I remember it from that.
It's all over that doc. So
Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful title. I apologize to the filmmaker for not remembering exactly.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
What about a non-horror film? This gives you, a very narrow amount of movies to choose from, but I'm curious what you would recommend.
A non-horror movie. We're coming out of October, so I just have to kind of shake myself out of the the horror overdrive that I've been in. But what lately have I seen that I loved?
I could kind of tee you up just to go into what we probably will round out with, but is there anything that you're recording this from what looks like an edit bay, and I'm assuming you're working on the new film that you have coming out. Is there anything that you would say was an inspiration for the new film that you're going to have coming out soon, or anything along those lines that you would recommend?
That's an excellent prompt. While we were in prep, we did a series of screenings of movies that were points of inspiration for this movie, and a number of them, I feel if I talk about them, it would just reveal too much. But I do. I will reveal the double feature that I've described as sort of encapsulating what this movie is, which is Fassbinder's The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, mixed with Taylor Swift's Reputation tour of the Netflix film. Both of those I watched over and over and over again while preparing for this new movie. and I recommend both heartily.
Okay.
Wow. I was not expecting the other the
Yeah.
Taylor Swift film to come in. So I guess for context, and I'm not sure if the title has changed, but you did a filmed something with Anne Hathaway, Hunter Schafer. I know the working title was Mother Mary, I believe. I don't know how much you can say about it, but
that's it. It's called Mother Mary. Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole are the two leads, and then Hunter Schafer plays the co-lead. And we actually are not done shooting. We have another leg of production coming up. We had a winter unit that we have to start prepping for right now, actually. But but assuming we get that done on schedule, the movie should be out sometime in 2024, and it is crazy.
Oh
wow!
I'm so excited.
So excited.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what to say. I don't know if I maybe crazy good, maybe crazy bad, but it's crazy.
No, that is all. Even just the slight premise that you can see online or that was in the press release is exciting, and as always, exciting for whatever David Lowery film is going to be coming out next. So really appreciate your time, man. This has been an absolute honor to chat with you, and we'll have you on next time to talk about The Conjuring 2, which was kind of one of the more random titles to see on your list of favorite films, and other horror films along those lines.
One of the best horror movies of the past 10 years.
We're gonna have to deep dive it. Let's do it.
Really appreciate the time, man. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to our interview with David Lowery, and thank you again to David for joining us. We normally end with a fun little outro, but this time we are joined by our friends Jake and Kelsey, who are here to play a game with us. And this is the first time that we've ever played a game that Sean and I didn't come up with roughly 48 hours before we played the game. Jake and Kelsey are coming with a game that they've created that currently has a Kickstarter that you can support. And guys, I guess I'm going to open the floor to you. Tell us a bit about your game before we play it, because we're going to play a game that's going to make everyone want to then go buy the game, and this will all be very successful. So tell us,
everybody.
Tell us about it.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi.
I'm Jake, and this is Weirdos Wanted.
Our game is called Weirdos Wanted, and it's a party game all about forming the perfect party. So there's a boss, and every round the boss has to hire a band of misfits, a band of weirdos to complete a mission. So most of the game is pitching yourself to go on a mission.
Yeah. So one boss, and in this case, we're playing with 4 people. So 3 of us are just going to be writing in complete nonsense. And that complete nonsense gets scrambled up and sorted back out to everybody. So then you end up with this character with 3 traits, and you're going to be like, oh, this is why I'm the best to lead the world's most bizarre cult, for example, is the mission of the round.
Love
and then
it.
You're like, oh, I have spaghetti hands, so that'll work because
insert why.
You're basically applying for a job, but your friends wrote your resume, and it could be anything.
Okay. I'm good at applying for jobs. I'm
gist.
good at job interviews, so
yeah,
this should be good.
So picture you're applying for a job interview, but you're not you anymore, Steve. You're completely different, and maybe better. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah,
as we
not hard to do.
I love it.
Write them in.
Yeah, it perfectly fits in with the sort of hypothetical pitch stuff that we do on a regular basis. So I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of. I was looking through the deck because I think it's 75 mission cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are horror-ish, horror genre adjacent. So we pulled those ones especially for today to be the ones that we go through.
Can I just say, you guys sent me a copy of the game, and it's just so cool to like hold it in my hand. Like it's like a real thing. Like it's just fucking rad. Like the packaging is cool. I love the art.
I was nervous to send it to you because you are such an amazing artist, and our art is blub people. They are like blubber flubber guys. We love them.
It's so perfect. Yes. Yeah, it no, I think it fits like just the nature. I mean, granted, I haven't gotten a chance to play yet. I'm about to find out, but just from what I understand of the game, I think that the art is like a perfect fit. It's so fun. So listeners, you should go check it out.
It is
Go check out
great.
the art if nothing else, but
The combination
Yeah.
of tutu and chainsaw is 10 out of 10.
yeah,
So
Yes,
that
absolutely.
juxtaposition.
Yeah, you can see
All right.
what he's talking about on weirdoswanted.com. Everything's on weirdoswanted.com.
Yeah, check us out. Instagram, TikTok, just do the thing.
Good thing.
If you guys want to play, we can get into it. We can try it out.
Let's do it, man.
let's go.
Let's do it. Yep.
Okay,
All right.
so the first thing we're going to do is fill in appearance, inventory, and experience, all of us. And it can be anything.
Okay, so one thing for each.
One thing for each. Appearance is your body. So your physical traits or wardrobe choices. So it could be anything like wearing a cheetah print butt flap, your head looks like a thumb, you have a 50-pound pinky toe. So anything physical at all.
Okay.
Your inventory is your stuff. It's your things that you carry around. So the skull of the last unicorn, a wand that can only summon silly putty, a bag of dirty underwear, Diet Coke and Mentos, anything that you have on your person.
And then
Okay.
experience is kind of the wild card. It's your qualifications, employment, hobbies, skills, or fun facts. Like ostrich wrangler has X-ray vision, lives in a dumpster, or knows curse words in every language.
Whatever weird thing pops in your head, you can put in.
Okay.
Can be as short or as, I wouldn't say long, but it can be as short or as medium length as you want. We have
Love it.
in the physical game, we have this little strip of paper this long, so that's the general idea.
Got it. Okay. Oh, I'm stuck on experience. This is tough.
I haven't
And-
done any of them yet. Okay.
And I'll just go ahead and be the boss for this first one. So technically, it's going to be
Okay.
Kelsey, Steve, and Sean writing them in
Okay.
this time.
Okay.
So basically, everything that I've written in under appearance, inventory, and experience is going to be shuffled on the board.
Exactly.
somewhere.
You might
Okay.
get one back. You might get two back. But
Perfect. I hope I don't.
but yes, it's just gonna basically when we're in person, we're dropping it into the middle of the table, shuffling it up, and then taking one back.
Got it.
Why am I nervous? I'm nervous. I'm nervous about my interview, man. I'm sweating.
All right, so we shuffled them up. Everybody's got an appearance, an inventory, and an experience. And now I'm going to draw the mission that you guys are about to apply for. I'm the boss. You got to impress me.
And you can only use those 3 traits that you have, and you have to use all 3 traits that you have.
Kelsey, should you go first? And
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go first. I got it.
The mission that I pulled is survive a slasher movie.
Ooh, that's very on theme.
All right, Kels, what do you got
let
for us?
me read this. Okay, so to start off, my appearance, I am an actual leopard.
Oh,
So as
not catching you.
no, and I think I can also do some slashing. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah,
need
very
someone
true.
to survive a slasher movie. Got the claws, ready to
Wow.
do some slashing of my own. So
Okay.
everyone else should be worried about surviving the slasher movie.
Strong start. What else we got here?
My my inventory is a toaster that only toasts already toasted toast. So took me a minute to read it, but once I did, I realized
Okay.
that
Yeah.
all I have to do is lure my person, my slasher, my enemy into a body of water, and
Mm.
it doesn't matter if this toaster can toast because it can electrocute whoever.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And
So
when
there's
they're in
one
the
way
water,
out.
you can be like, "You're toast."
You're
Yes.
already toasted because it's already toasted
Ooh.
toast.
The puns are there and waiting.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay. And I feel like the punniest person usually is one of the last to go in a slasher movie.
Or number
So-
one.
Or the first, yeah.
Or the first.
Yeah, or the
That's actually-
first. Like, get this shit out of the way. Can't do a whole 90 minutes of this.
And then my last, so my experience, I am a 12-time Oklahoma State Frisbee champion. Oklahoma is pretty competitive Frisbee-wise, so I'm pretty good.
Are they?
And it's
Wow.
yeah, I just decided that right now.
An infant.
I feel like a good you guys will know. What's the movie where everyone dies in like crazy ways?
Final
Final
Destination.
Yeah, thank you.
Destination.
Okay.
Final Destination.
I feel like a good Final Destination like scene would just be throwing it at the slasher with
Honestly.
like it just gets at their head. Like I could put
Wow.
like a razor around it, frisbee their head off. So I've got multiple ways.
Truly
to
a very
keep myself
solid pitch so far.
I am
I'm excited to see how
frisbee
Steve and Sean follow that.
throwing, toaster throwing leopard. Beat it. Try it.
And I would also love to see a leopard throw a frisbee.
I was going to say, are you worried that the leopard may not be able to throw things in the way that you
have you
are
ever
hoping?
seen a hot Cheeto commercial? I guess that's a cheetah. I don't know if leopards
Yeah.
are
It's Chester the cheetah.
I won't lie. Even though this doesn't help my case, I have a perfect vision in my head of a leopard just like swinging its head around, like with the toaster by the cord,
and in
by
the
the
air
cord.
probably,
Yeah.
like during a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Leopards be
Yeah.
jumping.
There's there's cool imagery, is what I will say.
Yeah.
That's all I will say.
All
All
right.
right, who's next?
I would say Sean. I want to
Me?
hear you that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm confident right off the bat. Take me in. Look at me. See all my nooks and crannies. For I am a guy who is only wearing socks and a cowboy hat. That is it.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's my logic here.
They have one of those in Times Square.
Yeah. Well,
They
I
have
think
they have a lot of those in slasher movies, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So,
But
no
they
one
don't
wants to
live
fight.
long.
Listen, well, hold up. No one wants to fight a
Okay.
naked guy. All right. There's all sorts of things online about when someone's trying to start a fight with you, you just strip down to your skivvies,
Mm-hmm.
your bare naked skin, and you confuse them. All right. So I feel like a
I've
wild
seen
card.
all types of nudity online for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the socks on for sliding, so I can just skedaddle on out of the
Yeah.
way.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Very
what
true.
is more intimidating than a cowboy hat? All right. Am I a crazy college frat dude that's just trying to have a good time, or am I Walker, Texas Ranger? You don't know. So
Both are
Neither of those
scary.
things.
Honestly,
Neither of
yeah.
those things are intimidating to me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
okay. As a woman, a frat
Thank
dude
you.
in a cowboy hat, I'm
Thank you.
terrified. I'm running.
Thank you.
The,
That's fair.
All right,
the
and also
Texas
I'm-
Ranger I can deal with.
Yeah, and clearly I'm having a good time because I'm just sweating and catching the breeze and doing what I can to stay cool and trip you out. So it's all good. What else do we got? I got a used toothbrush. All right. Now you might think to yourself, what is that? Soft, yeah, but those bristles are uncomfy, man. And also, it's not a weapon that the
Uncomfy.
killer is going to think that I'm going to use. He's when we're on the ground wrestling, he's going to go and grab for the knife and he's going to grab for the gun. He's not going to expect my used, disgusting, it's got hair on it and bacteria.
Toothbrushes are actually really common shank material in jail.
So I could,
Sharpen it up.
The first contact, I scrub his eyes a little bit. That doesn't feel good. Those are very bristly hairs. Scrub his eyes. I get away. Then I get to
He
the
gets
stove.
infected.
He gets
While
infected.
you're running,
Now he's got
infected.
his eyes are mad itchy, and I go and I melt the end of my toothbrush, and now I got a little shiv. And I'm ready.
There you go.
It's the end. I still got my bristly parts for the scrubbing, but now I got a pointy end for the stab.
Multi-tool.
Wow.
Yep. And I also know every single word to the film Anchorman. And if there was ever a funnier movie, I haven't heard of it. So I just start dropping I Love Lamp and the killer starts cracking up. He can't even think straight. All right. So, and the blooper reel of that movie is great.
Comic relief characters.
So you're mostly just your biggest strategy is confuse him. Like
Yes,
get
confuse.
naked,
Yes.
recite Anchorman, and brush his eyes out.
Yeah. What is
Okay.
he gonna do? Well, he can't.
Okay.
He's got nothing, man.
Okay.
Bark
I like
voice
it,
if
I
you're in
like it.
Milwaukee. And other
All
lines
right.
from that movie.
All right. The mission again is survive a slasher movie. Steve, what do you got?
So the key word there is survive. And I feel like to survive, you have to be slippery. You gotta be able to get away. You gotta be slippery. And the thing that would make you the slipperiest is if you had concerningly moist gills. It's something that I've read a number of articles about people that suffer from something called concerningly moist gills, and I think it makes you slippery. It's there as a
CMG.
human being. CMG. There's not a lot of things that make you as slippery as CMG. I do think you should watch out for stairs because you might slip down them.
Absolutely.
But I do believe you'd be able to slip away. He tries to grab around your neck. That's where the gills is. So he tries to go for the neck, and you just right out of it. Like you quickly right out of it. And so I think that the concerningly moist gills would be good. I think if you did have if I for instance was going to have problems circumventing an area because I have concerningly moist gills, CMG, I have a rope essentially. And my rope is it's a lock of hair from all of my exes is the one thing that I have. It's tied together, and it's unfortunately long, and you would use it. I could use it to lasso things. If I wanted to do a get over here from Mortal Kombat, I could do it around the slasher, and then I'm just trying to survive. I'm not trying to fight, so I'd sling them to the side and keep running.
They can't grab you, but you can grab them. Yeah,
exactly. And he'd fall on the ground because of the CMG excretions all over the place. And honestly, like it's fine because I also age backwards. So if I'm running a little slow because I'm almost 30, I know I'm talking about myself now. I get winded. It's fine. I will then, get away from him one time, but the next time he comes to get me, I'm 23. I'm a little bit more spry. And then he tries to get me the next time, and I'm back running track in high school, and I'm freaking 15 years old again. Zoom, 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 zoom. So I think there's really no problems.
At some point, he's going to be a baby. Babies are pretty slow.
But
that's true.
But for a 90-minute slasher movie,
in a slasher movie, you don't kill a baby so much.
That's true. Once you get young enough, honestly,
that's some
again,
Game of Thrones stuff.
This doesn't serve me at all, but Steve's character is really good for a franchise. You're going to want to see that character in every subsequent film.
Can you imagine Benjamin Button in a slasher movie? Mic drop, dude.
In a 10-movie slasher series.
Yeah. Yes. You tell me Benji Butts with concerningly moist gills.
Benji
CMG.
Butts.
Come on. Benji Butts with CMG.
Man.
So
we got to pitch that.
Okay.
That's where we are.
You walk into the studio, you're like, picture Benjamin Button, but with CMG. And they're like, oh.
Holy shit.
Done. Sold.
There is a
Is
character
it a slasher film?
in The Boys with CMG. Isn't there?
Yeah.
There's an actual
The
CMG
Deep.
character in The Boys. Yeah.
The Deep has CMG.
Yeah.
It's true.
Fuck
it's a
the
real
Deep,
thing.
though. The Deep
Representation matters. No, he does.
That's
true. Yeah. That's my.
So now,
my
this
story.
part of the game, there are some big bucks in Jake's hand.
Some decisions to be made. All right.
They are very cute. There's a George Washington looking blub with a spike collar.
Oh, man.
It's great.
On the front of it.
So
it did not look like George Washington the way it was held.
His hair.
Originally.
His hair.
No, it definitely does look like him. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
Okay.
All right.
So Jake is going to, as the boss, pick out his first favorite and his second favorite and award them bucks accordingly.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, all right, let's start with second best. Okay, we've got a cheetah that throws a mean frisbee. We've got CMG Benjamin Button. Oh yeah, leopard. Oh my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Cheetah
it's a
would
little
have been a
racist,
shoo-in.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
Benjamin Button CMG with a strand of hair. And Sean's character
is naked
and afraid.
Naked, afraid,
and confusing,
and knows a lot about
naked with a
Anchorman.
toothbrush and zinging those one-liners.
Yep.
My second place is going to CMG. Second place, Steve. You get $1.
Steve has $1. He was hired.
And I gotta say, Sean, your character is dying in Act 1. It's gonna be a very great death. You're gonna add a lot.
People are gonna be talking about it.
I'm gonna give $2 to the leopard. I don't know if the leopard's gonna get caught in this.
The leopard is the slasher, realistically.
Maybe, although
it'd be a great final girl. You know, it's
or just the one that like gets away halfway through and you like see after the credits or something.
That comes back with the police at the very end.
Yeah,
that's what because it's a leopard, right? Like. It's not our main character, but it's not going to die.
Hey, leopards can be main characters.
That's true. Yeah, but not in any movie that you'll watch because you don't watch.
Yeah, I don't watch
movies.
animal movies.
Yeah, too much.
They're too sad.
Emotion.
Also, for all of the movie people that listen to your podcast, anyone else who can't deal with anything bad happening to an animal, go on doesthedogdie.com.
Yes.
Have you guys talked about that?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, you guys already know. Cut that out.
Yeah, no.
It's
great to remind.
It's great.
It's also
my Bible.
Yeah, that's so fair. It's apparently they tied in a handful of different like triggering things for people.
There's so many.
You can look up on there too.
So
which
many.
is really cool.
Oh,
yeah, it's basically just a trigger.
Yeah, it's just an overall like. Can you warn me about these concerning things to me?
Dead body on
in
screen,
films?
Children.
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen
cool.
that.
Yeah. Santa spoilers
very impressive.
is one of them.
No
All right, so I lost.
Oh, that's great.
Santa spoiler. Oh,
yeah. So like, if you don't
got
like
it, I didn't. Yes.
In
what?
There's an episode of Friends where Phoebe learns Santa isn't real and is upset by it.
Oh wow.
I don't know what you're talking
about.
All the
kids say no one told me life was going to be this way. Anyways.
That's round
all
one.
Right, so
all right.
I'll take the loss.
Kelsey has 2 points. Steve has 1 point. And then you would do that.
I'm a big fat
3
loser.
more times.
Yeah, so we can play this as long as you guys want. Usually a game would end when we've all been the boss. So let's do another one. And then you tell us when you want to stop.
Who wants to be boss? Are either of you like aching to be boss?
I need to get a win. I need to get hired again, to be honest with you.
I could do it. So I just listen and I get to pick is my thing.
You get to pick.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
Do I have to? Should I be the one doing stuff on the sheet though?
I can still shuffle.
God no.
I can't see it.
Yeah, I was like, I won't know what the fuck I'm doing. Shut up.
What's the mission for Sean?
Become the monster hiding under the beds of children everywhere.
Ooh. Sell me on it. Let's do it.
Am I going first?
Yeah, usually it is clockwise. Yeah, you would be the first.
All right, Steve's up.
Let's do it.
I think I'm automatically gonna win off the rip because I have a face tat of your mom.
Of my mom?
I don't know. It's of your mom.
Where on your face? It's important.
I would be, if it was my mom, I'd be terrified.
Okay.
And then I think the thing that, even if the child wasn't automatically afraid, I would lure them with $5 that I have. I'd stick my hand out of the bed. You can't like really see what I'm doing. I'd stick my hand out of the bed and I would just like wave the $5 around.
Oh, dude.
That's
That's like a devil's
technique.
bargain.
And then a grooming technique is
Yeah, it's a good grooming technique.
Yeah, my mom's grooming with $5. But I would just wave the little $5 around in the air and then catch them, and then they would come down, and I'd be the spookiest, scariest monster. My experience doesn't really do a lot for me. I've died 6 times, and I have 9 lives, so I have 3 left. So if anyone was to... Yeah, I'm a little worse for wear. I got the tattoo between the 4th and the 5th life.
Gotcha.
Because I was killed by my mom, and I wanted to pay respect.
Commemorate.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So... yeah, that's my
I gotta say the idea of a I'm assuming gray and dented and sliced up Steve, malnourished, coming out from under the bed with a face tattoo.
Wow,
waving
he's
a $5.
assuming that you died in some gruesome way.
Well, I'm just assuming, it's if
part
you're
of the
6
business.
lives deep. Yeah, if you're 6
Yeah.
lives deep into a 9,
They were all peaceful.
You don't know what happened. Yeah, the first one I was stillborn. All
There's
right? The second one I was stillborn. All right, that's
So
2
he
out of
is
6.
And he
Yeah,
aged
there's-
backwards.
all right, Gray and and probably
Yeah.
just.
And I could have
yeah.
CMG. You have no idea.
I like the
Sure.
idea that it's the kid's mom. That's the face
Yes.
tattoo.
Oh, that would be scary. That would
Yeah.
be scary.
Okay.
It's
Just tattoos
whatever
the new
you
mom's
think
face.
it is.
It's almost
is the
like
face
you
tat.
picture, you're like, see, like, wait, it would be like, wait, that's terrifying. And then it'd be like, wait,
Mhm.
is that my mom? And then it'd be back to, wait, no, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like
deeper.
that story of like the kid is like walking out of his room at night and he hears downstairs like, honey, come down, I have food or I have a snack. And then as he walks
I have
from
$5.
his mom's bedroom, he hears, why are you awake? And then, oh my god, it was
Yeah.
a monster.
That
It's
wasn't
like
me.
that. Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
Skinwalker shit, dude. Yeah, you're giving
I
Skinwalker
have the
vibes,
chills
and I
right
do
now.
appreciate it.
Nice. Nice. Skinwalker with
All right.
$5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what? You're probably doing some like, come get it, just like a, just like a
I'd just be
fucking.
like, I'd be like,
Psst.
and that's just it over and over.
Monster.
Just
the
shaking.
classic
Yeah, the
monster.
monster.
All
Exactly.
right.
All
What's
right.
our mission? What's our mission again? So I can.
You are becoming the monster hiding under the beds of children everywhere.
Here's the first thing I think of. Logistics. Children
Fair.
everywhere.
Fair.
We're talking like in the billions, right? We're talking 1 billion people. Okay, and we need spreadsheets. I can make a spreadsheet for anything on Excel. That's my experience.
That's a good one.
And look, a lot of people go for the flash. I'm just saying, like, you're gonna need sustainability. You're gonna need this. This is a job that's gonna take a long time, and it's gonna take a lot of number crunching.
Yeah.
So
That's very true. Yeah, we're
Estimated-
talking
Estimated
north.
2 billion children
2
2 billion of them are children.
based
That's-
on the
that's
World
wild.
Population Review. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking North Pole.
Can you make
level
that many rows
responsibility
on
here.
Excel? Does it go to 2
You see the word anything? I can spreadsheet anything on Excel. Anything.
I like it.
All right. And also, yeah, I'm plenty creepy. My head is a butt.
It's funny.
You think
If
it's
you're
funny?
a 5-year-old, that is objectively funny.
See, this is another one of those layered things. You think it's funny, but then you look at it for a second longer, and you're like, dude, that's a butt on
Have you
somebody's. That's
Have you
a
seen
head.
Ass Face from Preacher, from the show Preacher?
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Looking
it's
it up
scary.
right now.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yes.
say, I think when you say your face is a butt, people just assume, oh, it's like a cute butt. No, dude, it
Uh-huh.
could be like a really
Oh man.
unappealing
I
butt.
hate it. I just looked up.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be a cartoon. No, I hate it. I hate it. We're done for the night. Lock it up.
Ass
What
face
is
from
this
Preacher.
show?
My head is a butt.
Yeah,
It's such
See,
a good
what I-
show.
yeah,
What I
it
like
could
to
be
do
good.
is wake people with a smell, and then
Okay.
Oh, no.
and then and look, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into the like exposing yourself to children venue like that. We don't want to go that far into that, but it's a thing that
We're
scars
already
people.
grooming them
Yeah.
with the dollars.
I'm just saying, like, they see a butt, they're a little bit confused, and that confusion turns into some deep-seated horror in the long run.
Something they'll be talking about for a long time.
Yes, logistics. And also, I have one of those 16-foot blow-up Halloween ghost decorations. So, like, you know, I can't be everywhere at once. I'm just saying I have a good substitute that's easy to get a little bit of, you know, a decent amount of scares. And 16 foot, if I blow that thing up under the bed, that's going to cause, like, the bed floats
won't
up.
fit.
It's going to be very, it's going to be,
Mhm.
Sure.
it's going to be scary.
Well,
It's gonna
you
be
seem
scary.
like the kind of monster that would prep, you know, like while the kid is
Yes.
still asleep, you could set the 16 blow up outside of their bedroom door. Then when
Mhm.
you get to scaring and they get to running,
while they're looking
there
at
waiting
that, while they're looking out the window, the butt comes in behind. Butt face comes in behind.
And nothing worse than when the butt comes.
No, there's plenty of options, and also the options that Excel really opens up as far as organization.
Even though you're just one person.
Yeah, one person. It's all about the pre-production, man.
That is fair. We got 2 good ones here.
Okay, that's
how many years would that take if you had one day a year for 2 million kids?
For 2 million?
That would be,
isn't that 2 billion?
Or 2 billion. Oh, it is 2 billion, isn't it? It would be 5,479,452 years to haunt all those children.
Well, so this is assuming you're only hitting
spreadsheets last forever. Yeah.
Exactly. But this is also assuming that you're only hitting one job at night. And I'm assuming
I think you can do a few.
Good handful. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Budget out
Monsters,
15, 20-minute windows.
Sure.
Depending on travel time. I don't know how, it depends. But nothing that can't go in a spreadsheet.
All right, Excel boys. Let's move on from the numbers.
What do you got for us,
Your
Kelsey?
turn.
Well, the first one is just really basic. I'm in a Lego costume. I don't know if anyone's seen Toy Story, but a moving toy, a toy that's actually alive, you think it's cool. It's not. Sid was afraid.
I don't like a big Lego. Even just saying that, like,
just a giant Lego guy.
God forbid you step on it.
No, that's so wide. A wig,
I don't know if it's
a 5 foot tall Lego is.
It's just a costume. It's not like it's not an actual hard plastic.
It is very accurate. It is hard plastic. I worked very hard on it.
It looks legit.
It took me years to make.
Well, wait, I'm sorry. I need more details. What color and shape is the Lego?
Yeah.
It's
modular, right?
Yeah, so it started out as like a Batman, but then some kid like tore it apart, so now it's got like it's missing an arm, and it's got like pieces of other Lego stuff. I don't know anything about Legos. It's really scary.
It's really scary.
Yeah. Melted plastic.
I would like to correct that the plural of Lego is Lego. But we can continue.
What?
Sorry, guys.
Wow.
I know you would like to, but no.
But eat a dick.
You don't say Legos?
Right. Batman.
Yeah, wait,
zombie.
no. We always said Legos. We had Legos.
Clean up your Lego, son.
I think I say Legos for sure.
It doesn't matter what anyone says.
I have to put away my Legos. I have to put away my Legos.
Clean up your fucking Legos. Yeah, I heard that a lot growing up.
Yeah. It's ingrained.
Our moms are bad at grammar, man.
Getting yelled at by your parents. Speaking of getting yelled at by your parents, my inventory is fine china. You know, like the thing that you were not allowed to touch when you were a kid? It's your parents' wedding china. It's your grandma's china that was passed down. Like these random plates that no one knows why they're even in the house. You've never eaten off of them. I'm going to come out with their parents' fine china and just smash it on the floor. They know they're going to be in trouble tomorrow. They know they're going to be in so much shit. So now they're afraid not only of me, but of what's coming the next morning.
Wow, consequences.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
And
Can't
my
explain
experience, you want to know why, like how I have this much bitterness and hatred in my heart that's going to keep me fueled? Because if there's 2 billion kids in the world, you're going to have to stay bitter and angry to want to terrorize 2 billion kids. I was a guest star on an episode of Friends, and that was the only job I ever got. All right. Those guys took off. They're millionaires. They're billionaires. Jennifer Aniston still looks great. She's like 60 years old. I never worked again. I'm angry, and I'm ready to take it out on some kids.
That is so valid.
Did you kill Matthew Perry?
I didn't want to mention the Matthew Perry. I thought it was too soon, but if we're bringing it up,
maybe.
Maybe.
Wow.
That's all. Maybe.
Rest in peace to Matthew Perry.
Okay.
I scared him to death with my Lego
Big rips.
costume. Also R.I.P. But also,
yeah.
I don't know. Okay, that's it. That's my thing.
Lego.
All right. There were there were some great contenders showing up for this position. We need a very scary monster to get the job done. I need those screams. So I'm trying to figure out where I should begin. I think I have to give. I'm so sorry, Kelsey. I think I have to put you in third place. I'm so sorry. Listen, it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. I think that a lot of deep-seated childhood fears are there. But but it didn't quite visually compare with the fear of our second place contendant, which would be Steve. Yeah.
I knew I was coming in second when you said contendant.
I'm so sorry. It is truly terrifying, especially since I can actually imagine it as Steve, as this just like malnourished, face tatted, almost like what's a SoundCloud rapper looking ask monster that is trying to lure children under the bed with $5. But dude, a butt faced creature, placing 16-foot blow up dolls around that is very well organized is one of the scarier things that I could imagine. So I am going to give
That's
first place.
I got my money with the spreadsheet, man. I made it work.
Yeah.
I'm so psyched
After
about
seeing that butt face picture, I'm like totally behind you.
Ass face is scary stuff.
Where are you in front of me?
Oh shit.
How would you know?
I don't.
Who's
Okay.
behind who? That's the tagline of the scary movie.
All right, you guys tell us. Are we doing one more round?
Let's
Do you think we should
do one more.
Yeah,
Let's
one
do
more.
One more.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who wants to judge?
I got my $2, so I can judge. I'll be the judge.
Okay. All right.
I'd like a chance to get some money. Everyone else has some money. I got nothing.
You got this, Sean.
If it makes you feel better, Jake almost never gets any money in this
true.
game that he designed.
Really? Well, this is fitting, and me and Jake are kindred spirits because this is our show, and I never win our games ever. I never win our games. It never, ever, ever.
It's always the guest, to be honest. We don't even set it up like that.
Yeah, we don't let them win, truly, but they just manage to. Everybody is just better.
Okay. Steve's mission is help the devil torment people in the underworld.
It is kind of similar.
Yeah.
It's just people instead of children. What, you want to change it?
I don't know.
I like this one.
You like this one?
I think the
Okay.
people in hell deserve something different than children.
That's true. Well, I don't know. All right.
So wait, just want to make
Well,
you
you
said
can't kill people in
helping
hell.
the devil torture people.
Yeah.
Torment.
Okay.
We would never put
Torment.
the word torture on a car. That's inappropriate.
Right, I'm sorry. Torment. Got it. Even better.
Oh man. Sorry. I'm gonna win. I feel bad, kind of, about having too good a
I
stop.
have two of my own.
Me too. No, this was.
I also have two of my own.
I don't
That's
love
fine.
that. I write mine specifically to make other people's lives harder.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
I can
All right.
make it work.
Let's start with the obvious. I have knives for fingers.
Oh.
Well, okay.
It's not the first time that you've seen knives for fingers, but it'll be the last time that a lot of people will see it.
What kind of knives? Help me paint. Give me some
Sharp
details.
ones. And I actually have like a mix up. Like I have like a serrated in the ring finger.
Sure. Yeah, like different.
Yeah.
It's a multi-tool.
The pinky is a
It's a
scalpel.
Boy Scout multi-tool.
I was
pinky is just
imagining a
for
pocket
surgeries.
knife sort of situation, Swiss Army knife situation.
Oh no, the hand is all there. It's just knife sticking out of there. But I guess if I like could put this one back in and pull out a different
which
one.
you can usually put your fingers in and out of your hand.
Yeah, you usually can, but geez,
Well,
like way to just
if
bring
they're-
that up. I'm sorry, I was born different.
As an ableist comment, yeah.
Wow.
That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, you can
Games
put your
canceled
fingers back in your hands.
Canceled.
Oh, okay. Okay. I also have all of the whiskey, and I'm not sharing it. So tell that to the people in the underworld. You're going to be sober through this whole experience. And I'm
gonna
not
be drunk.
going to be.
Yeah.
I am
This sounds like
absolutely not.
That's enough torture. Just hang out with someone totally drunk off whiskey and you're sober. Done.
Yeah, you can't have a
I'm
sip.
already in hell.
And
Definitely my personal hell.
now here's where it gets really like flavorful. Okay, so we know all this. Now, I've only ever lost one game of Marco Polo, and I'm pretty sure they cheated. And I've played a lot. So picture the rest of eternity playing Marco Polo against me, a knife-fingered drunk who has never lost, just the one time, but other than that has never lost Marco Polo. I'm going to find you.
If you win, he will tell you that you cheated. You will get no vindication.
Yeah.
I'm going to find my eyes. I can't see anything, but I still can't lose.
Is there a lot of
game
well, I
of
mean,
forever
Marco
game of
Polo. Marco Polo,
It's
you
scary
keep your eyes
game.
closed anyways.
Right.
But so it's fine. But is there
Yeah.
water in hell to play Marco Polo?
It's fire.
It's fire.
Yeah, it's a river of fire, a lake of
Okay.
fire.
All right, fair.
Thanks for chiming that in. Good assist. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, Marco Polo used to be fun, but not when there's knives.
No,
No.
that's dude.
God,
if this
no.
was a movie, that would
Yeah.
be the
Marco
like,
Polo
the-
should be. It probably is, but it should be a popular film. Marco Polo horror movie, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
there's
it.
a movie
Marco.
coming out called Night Swim that uses Marco Polo in the premise of its trailer.
I still have Marco.
Yeah, go watch the trailer
They're
for,
really
for
going
Night Swim.
like, they're like taking that childhood nostalgia to like a whole new level.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
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 Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Anyways, I'm
All
pretty
right.
scary. Kelsey, what do you got?
Kelsey, what about you?
It was a great pitch, Jake, but I don't know that you can beat me because I am a Jeff Bezos looking motherfucker.
Oh.
There you go.
Is that what it says? It says you're a Jeff Bezos looking
says
motherfucker.
Jeff Bezos looking motherfucker. And I mean, if there was ever anyone in hell. Sorry, are you guys like sponsored? Is he paying you?
No, it's fine.
Oh yeah, I forgot
It's-
about our parent company. I'm sure.
I
it's
guess
fine.
technically, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Do they scan all of our episodes for the term Jeff Bezos? I hope
Any
they don't.
Bezos mentions.
He would get
Right.
off on it. He'd be like, "Yeah, call me the devil. Call me the devil." Anyway, if there was ever anyone in hell helping torture people, you know it's Bezos. Like I belong here.
That's
You
fair.
can't get away from Amazon even when you're dead.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's the prime guarantee.
My inventory. Oh my god. My inventory. I have a bear cub that has a little gas, and you think it's cute. You're like, oh, he's cute, but it never stops. It's a little gas,
Right.
but it's just a steady. It's like you're getting waterboarded, but with
A
gas.
A steady flow of a little gas.
Yeah.
The
Well,
room
and
just
also-
always smells a
And
little
if you
bad.
try to get away from him, if you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, he's a bear. He's gonna maul
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So you have to stay there.
Well, and also like he's really cute and cuddly, so you want to go towards him, but then you
Right.
Yeah,
realize
you're tempted.
But you
probably
can't.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Speaking of
That
cute
was
and
terrible.
cuddly, the thing that you would miss the most in hell are the things that are obviously always in heaven, and it's dogs, right? Like, I pet a dog today, and I'm going to tell you about it relentlessly. I'm never going to shut up about this dog that I pet.
What's
and
your experience?
I pet a dog today. That's my experience. And I'm going to tell you about it, and you're not going to pet a dog
Wow.
ever again.
Oh man, that would be
So-
that would suck.
It's mostly psychological with the Bezos and the dog, but there's a little bit of physical torture in there.
Hell is
because
just Jeff Bezos telling you he pet a dog today
Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos.
on a loop.
Yeah, and you don't have any dogs, and also the only thing that resembles a dog smells just kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like bear farts.
There you
are
go.
Okay.
Probably not fun. Specifically bear farts.
Yeah, I can't imagine that a bear fart's a good time.
No.
I'd like to smell a bear fart before I die. I
Just
would like
to-
to know because I would like to know.
Be careful what you wish for, because on your
Sure.
deathbed, I'm gonna show up with a bear that has
Not right
just
before I
eaten some
die.
cheese.
I don't want
At
that to
some
be
point.
the end.
Sometime between now
some point.
and then. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Put it in our wills.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so you just got to hell. Hey, what's up, man? I'm Sean. I'm going to be your supervisor. I am a guy who is just holding my own ripped off face between my teeth. And I'm kind of talking like this.
Oh,
Oh
no.
my god. He just won.
I'm just
He
like,
won.
hey, man. Yeah, hell's not a great time.
I wish they could see my face. Like
yeah.
I'm in shock. Like you won.
I got here about I don't know, 20 years ago, and they promoted me up to supervisor.
By which part is the face thing? I picture it like you're trying to hold it on to your lips, so you're like that's
like
the
half.
upper half is flopping.
Oh, so I'm just holding on. Yeah, so it keeps. I keep like flinging my head back
my
to get it to
God.
stick to my face.
Maybe we don't have to picture it though.
It's like-
just not picture it.
It's just making like a
Yeah, sound all the time, just nonstop.
Great.
But yeah, so that's me. If you take a peek here, it's okay. We're gonna be here for a while, so I'm gonna show you.
We'll get used
We have
to it.
we have a couple things. I have I call it my little Mary Poppins bag, because it's never ending. It's just, I reach in there. But the only thing inside of it is Xanax and off-brand frozen waffles. Not Eggos, not Eggos. Just frozen waffles.
I wish these were Eggo.
Yeah, just like the Walmart brand. They're slightly freezer burnt. I have a bunch of Xanax, but like I'm not really gonna share them with you because I need them. I take them like 5 at a time. These are like Pez to me. But I do want you to know that I have them.
Do the Eggos stay frozen because you are in hell?
Yeah, we have no. I don't know if. I mean, it's hell, man. There's no like stove or anything.
Wait, what does your
but it's
card
hot.
actually say?
It says a Mary Poppins bag filled with nothing but Xanax and off-brand frozen Legos.
Oh, I
Is
thought
that-
you were
Frozen.
okay.
Frozen Eggos, right?
Frozen waffles, not Eggo.
Waffles,
That's what
okay,
it says
yeah.
specifically. Yeah. Is that
Okay.
cheating? Is that cheating because it gives me a couple device? Okay. All right.
No.
Just wanted to. All right. But yeah, so I have
Is
that.
it cheating to
that's,
say I have waffles? Are you sure?
well, I just meant that I have like multiple
Well, it's a
things.
little OP, man.
I gave
Oh.
myself a bag and then put other things in it. That's what
That's
I was
fair.
checking. It's a little OP.
It's random. You got it by luck.
Yeah.
That's true.
Could have been any of us.
But yeah, so I have that. That's all we have to eat. And my experience, frankly, man, I spent my whole life disappointing my dad. And I'm going to tell you all about it. I didn't have much going on. He knew it. He called it. I denied it. But yeah, never got an attaboy. Never got an I love you. We'll talk about it. We're going to be here for a while. So
Wow.
welcome to hell.
Wow.
Sounds like a
Thank
real nice connection that we're gonna end up having. Like a real
Hearing
good,
about like a stranger's dad
good
problems.
Yeah.
That's like the guy at the bar that you're
Why?
like, I wish you the best, but please.
While I try to smack
know.
my face on and eat
Oh my
frozen
The
waffles
face
through.
thing is like,
I'd make friends with this dude over some non-egos.
well, you have enough whiskey to do that. All right,
Yeah.
not all of us.
That's true. So the person, we got some good job apps here to help the devil torment people in hell. Unfortunately, I think the person that's not going to get this job, we've seen Freddy Krueger before, and I don't
Wasn't
know if
original.
you're gonna. I think these people, they're already in hell.
It's too-
and so
it's
they've
too on the
already
nose.
seen these bad things.
You're going outside the box.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're looking for something.
Say
We're
no more.
rebranding.
They're an
Say no
innovative,
more. All right.
they're an innovative company.
What happened to the good old days?
I just think, I mean, these people are
Okay.
already in hell.
Rebranding.
And while I do think that the knives for fingers is a little bit much. In second place, I think the guy holding his ripped off face between his teeth is second. Just honestly, because Papa Bezos in hell would just it's like
much.
Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and Daddy Bezos would be like the three
what I'm
people that you
saying.
wouldn't want to see in hell.
Sure.
Like you think at least I've escaped these people. Like at least sure I'm in hell, but at least I never have to hear about Amazon again. And they're
and hell is just Amazon.
Is it him or is it a hell is just Amazon and you're clocking those hours, babe? Is it Jeff Bezos or is it a Jeff Bezos looking motherfucker? Because I almost think that's worse. Does it?
It is a Jeff Bezos looking motherfucker, but I mean it's
outsourced Bezos. Like Bezos had too much to do, so he didn't even take the time to torment you himself.
Yeah.
I just think that's it's the things in hell that would be the worst would be the things that are just like not painful, not scary, just bad. And I think that's just bad. I hope we don't get thrown off of our network for saying that. But that's my decision. So Kelsey gets the 2 buckaroons.
So much.
This is the last episode of Mostly Horror.
I'm
honored to have been on.
I do have to say that just to Steve about my application, my dad is going to be super disappointed. It's not going to
change anything.
This isn't going to change
anything. You did.
So what's the total score? Yeah, what's the total score? Sean just got $1.
$1, but I got $1. Damn it!
I have $4.
Kelsey got 4. I had a total of 2. I think Steve had 2.
I have 2.
To be fair, though, I never judged you guys, so like it's like $4 with a little asterisk in there.
True.
Yep.
It's still a win. I'll count it.
Yeah, that is.
Thank you, Daddy Bezos, for giving me the game.
Yeah, we've come full circle, and we're now thanking Daddy Bezos.
Yeah.
That was an absolute blast. I'm very excited. For your guys' Kickstarter to be 100% fulfilled. It's running until December 15th. So anyone that's listening to this now, with shipping, tax, whatever, $26 total. Grab yourself a game. WeirdosWanted.com. There's an Instagram and TikTok, Weirdos Wanted Game. Kelsey and Jake can be found at the number 2 nerds, the number 1 pup. That reminds me of a video I'd never like to see again.
I don't even know what you're talking about. What?
2 nerds, 1 pup. But guys, thank you again so much for coming on the show and playing this extremely fun game with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
It was a
fun
blast
to
playing with you guys.
Of course. We got to get you on for future games.
Yeah. On that note, again, check out the game, weirdoswanted.com. Send us an email. Talk to Sean and I and tell us what you thought about that game and how much you love it. And also, what do you think would be the worst thing in hell? If you had to add something to hell, what do you think?
What is your personal hell?
What is your personal hell?
About your personal hell.
Tell us about your personal hell. We'll read them on its own episode.
You're going to get some real therapy sessions.
We're going to get some good ones.
Listeners, please do this. This actually sounds so fun. Please
tell us about your personal hell. mostlyhorrormovienight@gmail.com. You can send us your personal hell information at mostlyhorrorpod on Instagram or at mostlyhorror on TikTok and the Twitter. I am on all socials at Steven is Average, and Sean is everywhere at Hypocrite Inc. or Hypocrite.inc. And that is all we got for you this week. We will catch you in hell.
Goodbye.